literally fly. You heard that skit? Dude,
I think so, yeah.
Well, the market can't fly today, unfortunately, so you got to pick and choose your battles. I'm actually not in a position, believe it or not. This morning, thankfully this morning was profitable. And I say thankfully because there were a lot of places that could have been gigantic missteps when I'm looking back at it. Like if you were, I know we're going to get into the symbols to talk about, but if you were the old, let's find a bottom in Nvidia today story.
Where's it at?
Where's the bottom at it? Hold on, let me keep looking. Oh yeah, right now, that's yeah. So if you waited for 136, congratulations to you. You could have caught the bottom on Nvidia. Absolutely got away with a couple of longs on Tesla today, which is also trend down. I guess we'll talk about these, but you know, find some support in there and get fortunate that you pick a good spot. But each time, not enough follow through because I do have some stop outs there, even after taking some profits. The thing that's still going though is I know you're still in Cassava Sciences.
Yes.
So Sava is still going, but this is, I'm watching like the day-long trend from the open is now looking to hold this channel and a trend that held up from VWAP in there. This is where I'm looking to execute sort of off of that 440. I want it holding inside the channel, give it to the 440 level. So that's what I'm watching right now with something that is strong. The market is flat, the NASDAQ down 0.03%, and it's not doing a heck of a lot except trending back in. So if you're not looking for a trend short, small caps seem to be the way to go. Like I'm looking over at there, that's Sava. I'm looking at that Zena. Is it Zena Tech or is it, we're calling that Zena, aren't we? Like the warrior stock.
Oh, I remember that show, yeah.
You see, Zena, you know, all the references I dropped for Obi, but Zena's the one that you get.
I don't know. I feel like I guess my parents used to watch it, and I was like, you know, I was just there sometimes, and I was like, oh, I remember that.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Oh no, you didn't. Your parent. Okay, I see what's up. Your parents, huh?
Yeah.
Casually make me feel even older than I am.
No, I used to watch it alongside them as a kid, but no, that show does not run anymore. Right? It's a pretty old show. But like when did it come out? It was much I don't know. We'll come back to that one. But Zena, oh boy, is she definitely fighting to the upside.
I feel like I just got owned, but that's okay. No, it is fighting to the upside.
Yeah.
Wow, your parents used to watch. Oh man. That's a lie. Won't make you feel loud. Make you feel old.
Good show.
Oh, it was a good show, but like you didn't have to throw out that your parents watched it.
I mean,
anyways, we're gonna say some stuff about Zena. Zena is halfway to $10. If it gets to $10, I'll do 20 push-ups today. It's not getting to $10. Why? Because these types of moves almost never get all the way. Now, I'm not saying it's done as a long, far from that. I might price some locates if it does break maybe $5 or $6, but certainly this type of a move usually abates itself well before it sees like a $10. I'm looking for some kind of mean reversion, but I didn't price out the locates on it just yet. However, we've closed in channel on Sava, so I'm probably going to do a little bit of dip buying on that particular name here. So watch out for that Zena. I think it's very likely going to make some kind of a nasty move here before it gets to 6 to the downside. It might actually be doing it now, and then Neil should have already paid for locates. Oh well.
Yeah, no, I'm just kind of have eyes on this Tesla, pretty much making fresh lows throughout the day as the market, pretty weak to the downside, trending, no real relief as of right now. So fresh lows on Tesla as well. And if you're watching Nvidia, we already looked at that one with Neil. We're at day lows, softy as well, kind of weak underneath that VWAP. This is actually interesting right now, a bit of a double toppy action, maybe triple top as well if you look at this rejection right here on a 3-minute as we rejected underneath that 417, 416 around VWAP area as of right now, trending further to the downside. Google as well. Let's see what that's up to. So we were talking about it holding that that VWAP in the morning session. Not really doing that as much anymore from the upside. It seems like we kind of broke that support and came right back in. So let's see what we do going into the end of the day. And I think Neil's right. We're starting to feel like this is getting into that. It's giving us that holiday trading feel. But there's definitely a lot of opportunities that have been happening. Let's see what you guys have voted for.
Welcome, everyone, to the Afternoon Rundown, the show where you decide what we talk about. The big boys are locked and loaded, ready to look at the tickers as decided by you. So make sure to join us during the How to Trade Midday show and get into the chat. 2 polls per day, one at 11, one at 12:30. Vote for your favorite tickers in the top 5. We'll make them on. All right, let's have a look at these major averages. The triple Q is essentially 0.0% right now, so flat on the day, but the ES marginally positive, up 0.25%, still holding above that 6,000 point level, and the Dow continuing to run up 0.9 today, but the cake goes to the Russell 2000 over 2%. The Russ, good look as we continue to watch that rotation trade with these small caps. All right, let's have a look at the first ticker as decided by you guys. Nvidia, no real surprise there today though, taking a bit of a down move, down 3.8% into that mid 130s, guys. No real catalyst today for Nvidia, but there was this little tidbit. They unveiled a new Fugato AI tool that transforms sound creation for music, ads, and gaming. Couldn't help the stock today though, guys, as we have some profit taking after those earnings.
Yeah, that's about the gist of it. So the interesting thing is Nvidia had been on a pretty good trend up going into that 150 top. So you go back, this is the September low. These are the higher lows when it held a 50 period. It was holding that line. And the best thing about it, I mean, on a daily chart, remember, like you're hugging that line with closes above and below. This is the first day that we're actually breaking away from this trend. So this is like a confirmation of the reversal of trend. Good news. Hey, we've got support at 130, 131, and we've got the 50 period sitting here at 134. I think those come into play this week. The way this is being traded, it's pretty clear that we've talked about it. And this is something Michael Noss has said. Stick around with the aftermarket show where Michael will be joining us once again. That rotation is the lifeblood to a bull market. Well, if they're rotating, if money is rotating into small caps, then money is coming out of Nvidia and the runners. And Nvidia has been a massive runner. Clearly, it's been doing very well, but the trend did break today. It was trying to hold on to this level. So you could have had, I could argue with you were consolidating after the earnings in here between 140 and 147. Today, I think you get the breakdown. It's just the 50 period and that support there at 31, 32 that are going to be left in the ether. I suppose it could do a bit of a reversion, but if you weren't looking short earlier on this, it is what it is. And this was not a name that we were even focused on this morning. It was just never in the ether. A name like SMCI, which we'll talk about, was out there. Cassava Sciences, which Obi's still in. I just got back into it. That was in play for sure. I'd love this to do a mean revert and then break it back out. But if it does, it's not the name I'm looking at in the chip space long. It's AMD that I'll look long if the market catches a bid and the chips look like they want to go strong. Why? Because AMD is up 2% and at VWAP. I don't want to say above VWAP because I feel like I'll be jinxing it. It's been battling VWAP all afternoon. But you're at the lows on Nvidia. AMD's trying to do a little bit of catch up here. So I'm looking for this to make some higher lows finally and start breaking away from VWAP. That's the chip name that I'm more interested in right now this afternoon instead of Nvidia.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that look on Nvidia. There definitely some selling coming in today. Interestingly enough, we're breaking below that earnings reaction low, that reference low there, in and around that 138 mark, where we've been holding it as resistance, as an area of resistance since about the after the opening session right here. You can see already around 10 o'clock. That area started to kind of continue to have sellers over and over again every time the price did come up into that 138 area. Came in, and this kind of these highs, some of these highs confluence with that VWAP. Look how clean this VWAP rejection is right here on the break of trend. So you have this consistent kind of buying after a low has been kind of held, and we make higher highs, higher lows into VWAP. You break that trend, you come right back in. So interesting, I guess, price action there. Prior day, we had those sellers come in, and this again, we talked about this, an interesting grind for majority of the day. For over 4 hours, Nvidia pretty much traded sideways in and around 142 on day 2 of earnings. We're finally getting a bit of that continuation coming into today with, again, more selling coming in past some of those prior day lows, earnings day 1 lows, earnings reaction low as well we're trading at. Now we're kind of stair-stepping, we're making a step on top of this 136. Let's see if we continue that stair step down below that 136. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, but I'll be looking for this trend to potentially continue, and when it doesn't, I'm sure it'll let us know as well. So let's see what Nvidia has in store. But yeah, some of these other chips are probably providing with us with some better price action here. Nvidia definitely one of the main ones that have been selling off all day.
SMCI surging again today. Nice move up 11.75%. It moved up aggressively last week, 65% from Monday to Friday. It opened up last Monday at $23.03 a share, and by the time 4 o'clock on Friday came around, we had been printing $33.15. Well above that now, boys. $37 being tested here.
So first off, I saw a few people in the chat. Amazon's making a move here. Like SMCI is not doing anything right now, so we can go over that in a quick second. But Amazon breaking away from 201 and headed towards a 202 high of day here. So this is looking awfully strong. This is another reason. Like I'm looking at AMD because of its strength. I think you got to be looking at Amazon because of its strength. The market's not doing anything. You want a stock that is moving. So I just wanted to point that out. SMCI, okay, it was probably just a one and done. But I kept on trading it for a bunch of scalp trades. Doesn't work. Scalp some for win, get out. Scalp some, lose. Scalp some for wins. Scalp some for wins, and small at that. SMCI was just an early move this morning. You know, I liked it for the long. It was gapped, holding prior highs. I thought we'd just get a continuation day on it. I missed the dip buys. It didn't come back into prior lows. I do not want to turn on. It's just happened. Do you want to turn on sticky keys? No. I thought I disabled that. See, now I'm going to be all paranoid because I'm pretty sure I disabled sticky keys on this PC. So now every time I'm holding down a key, I'm going to freak out. No, SMCI, it was just a breakout trade that we ended up getting because we missed the dip buy. Kind of a one and done, 37.25, and then a bunch of scalp trades, which have been nonsense. I think it needs to round off, hold and break out from VWAP, and then you might have something here on SMCI. Overall, still good, right? Like it's still holding a nice upward trend. Just if you didn't have the early move, it wasn't like Friday where you could have had it early, you could have had it on the dip at the open, and then even later in the day, there was another dip to be had where you could have grabbed the dollar on it. Feels a little bit more lazy today on SMCI, but the recovery is certainly ongoing here. Good stock today, but you really had to have it in the first half hour.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that one there. Prior day hold happens in that pre-market. I think that's kind of a little significant, and we kind of step up through that pre-market high off of the open. And even if you don't like it, then on the pullback, not only do you hold that pre-market high, you hold that VWAP as well. So some strong confluence. Again, looking back at it at that SMCI opening price action there. But since then, we've been pretty much doing nothing for the past, over about 3 hours-ish. So this selling kind of coming in, break of that bit of a trend coming in and around 11 o'clock right there. And that since that selling came in, we've only been consolidating underneath VWAP. Bit of a hold of that 36.5 as of right now. But SMCI, bigger picture, guys. I mean, it's looking like it is on its way kind of back up, slowly kind of stepping, reverting on a higher time frame is how I'm seeing it right here. You can see some of that selling coming in, and then boom, a lot of these anchors we're starting to trade and stair step above some of these anchors as well, reference to earnings from before and some I guess the selling events that have happened over the past couple of weeks there on SMCI. So should be interesting. This theme, I guess 20s, 22s was a nice area, break of trend, reclaim of some of that earnings anchored there, and since then we've been stepping up on SMCI. Another step up today. Let's see if it can hold 36 going into the close. Interesting ticker, but it seems like the morning sessions have been the place to be on this ticker over the past couple of weeks here.
IBIT pulling back today, down 4 1/5 as Bitcoin rejects that $100,000 mark for now. But there was this little tidbit yesterday, that came out this morning. BlackRock's spot ETF IBIT seeing over $1 billion in trading volume in the past week, or in the past couple of weeks, excuse me, since these have become optionable. So we'll keep an eye on IBIT. Separately, guys, Mara, nice big move up on the day. Didn't quite make up the to the rundown, but the boys will have a look at that for you.
Yeah, like Mara, Mara would be more uplifting to look at least because it caught a bid. But IBIT, I mean, it caught a huge bid, and it's actually up today. Unfortunately, Bitcoin, we're still waiting on 100,000. So IBIT, obviously, we didn't get there. Within a fraction. On the weekend, I think the highest I saw, depending on where you're looking, 99.5 or like 499 or whatever it was, is what we got to. But you're essentially just holding on the line around 95K, which is right in around this bottom here at 54 on IBIT. So go back to Wednesday, we had that gap up, and you're holding on to what I hope is not a flat bottom break. It wouldn't incredibly surprise, I'm going to make a pivot here, guys, and just show you a Bitcoin chart. Like, it wouldn't incredibly surprise me here when you pull up a 15-minute on Bitcoin, like now that you've filled in the gap to the break, if we lose another bid, I think you're in the low 90s here on BTC. You got 90,000 is obvious support. I'm looking like probably 91, 92 is the next available dip buy if we can't hang on to this bid for IBIT. I'm not really thinking trade this because of the weakness, unless I was thinking some kind of a short. But I do have my eyeballs on Mara. At least Mara, when you're trending down like this on IBIT, I mean, Mara is still green. It managed to just bounce. I mean, twice now, it's managed to hold a consolidation above Friday's high, or Friday's close, sorry, at 26. So now it's bouncing there and looking to try and reverse the trend back up. That gives you a hold at the prior day close, and then possibly a trend break back out. But without Bitcoin moving, they might not be the place to be. I still have my eyes on that Zena stock as well, as that one's still trying to go. I feel like I should have paid for those locates, because the move I was thinking at 6, it looks like it might have done it at 5. I didn't get the locates, but I got the locates to go short this like well after that curl at 5.
Yeah, I like again, a lot of small caps moving around on the day today. But IBIT, bit of a trend break right here again, with Bitcoin pulling back off of some of its highs that were made prior week. We can see that trend that was holding since last prior Thursday right here, not last Thursday, but prior Thursday. I have that as November 15th. Again, the trend kind of coming in from that gap up and that continuation of the bigger picture right there as well. But a little bit of a short-term or a shorter-term action price break right here, a trend break coming in. 54s trading on IBIT. So again, I like to look at that the Bitcoin chart here as well to kind of put things into perspective, and then look at this right here. So this is the trend on Bitcoin though. Let me just get rid of this one right here. So yeah, this is the trend on Bitcoin that's been holding from in and around that same time. But IBIT looking like it's broken it, but Bitcoin coming into some of that support as well. Let's see if that continues to stay support on Bitcoin, as again, strong legs up. It's found a bit of support. It's showing us multiple tests of this trend, and we're coming right back into some of those areas here. So in this area, interestingly, confluences with a bit of this double top action right here on top of the 94s. We're trading 95s right now on Bitcoin. So IBIT, let's see if that follows in step with whatever Bitcoin does. Pretty sure I can bet on that.
Great day today for Rivian, guys. 12.5%, a little bit off the highs, but yeah, good look there. A very bull flaggish pattern. There was this headline today, Tesla and Rivian finally putting aside their differences, or so it's being reported. Still not officially done. In case you're wondering what's going on here, it's a 4-year legal battle where Tesla was accusing Rivian of intellectual property right theft regarding their batteries, as well as poaching some of their engineers. So a lawsuit had been filed, scheduled to be dismissed on Christmas Eve of this year. A court date has been set, but still, guys, no official dismissal. In any event, 12.4% for Rivian.
Rivian was the miss today. I said earlier, I don't care if you're having a green day, good day, bad day. Like today, it's been a good day. Like, overall, I can't complain. Any green day is a good day. And But there wasn't an idea when I'm looking back at the trades that worked this morning. None of them were as good technically as what Rivian showed you. And it's just, I don't think it's even particularly close. And it comes down to the fact that we all know Rivian's been basing out at $10. I don't have to tell, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. We've been mentioning it for a while. Then you have this false bottom break here on the 15th, a couple of Fridays ago, where it fails $10, gets right back to it. Then look at the hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row. We hold the week at $10. And the prior high is $11.72. So what do you think happened at $11.72 on Rivian? Well, you could add a pre-market high break, but this is $11.72 right here. You're long, it never goes against you. It comes back, pulls back to like 73. Like, give me a break. It's just nothing, I'm not talking about free money, but it's a very simple setup. Obviously now it's not doing much of anything. You're just consolidating off of 1150 for reasons unknown, and you're going sideways. So I don't think there's that much of a trade unless it can start maybe catching around a bit up here, breaking toward the high. I'll have eyeballs on it because it's a strong mover, but that's exactly the kind of setup you want. Long consolidation. You have a support level that it's basing out from. You have an obvious level for it to take out that prior high there on the 15-minute. You have the rotation also going into small cap names, which is exactly what you want here. You have a short float to boot. You have pretty much everything stacking up for this one. So yeah, while I'm not going to complain about, like, SMCI is a good stock today, Sava is a good stock today. Those were good ones to have, and we'll talk about Cassava Sciences. But none of them gave you the trade setup that Rivian did. So the next time I see a setup like that, don't have much of an excuse not to have it. That was an A+ setup today.
Yeah, I think we covered this in the morning session there. Very, very clean. Neil and I actually went down to the 10-second chart and looked at the breakouts there of some of those prior highs. Never really looked back. I think if you were giving it a fair risk, you would have definitely stayed in that position until some of those highs came in right there at some of these prior levels right here. So you can see that we had a strong relative volume day after earnings right here on November the 13th, where we've tested that 1310 high, and we've taken a pullback off of there and consolidated multiple times on top of that $10 level, finally breaking out into some of those prior support resistance levels right here. So as of right now, day high 1184, and we're taking a bit of a pullback as that buying is dissipated. You can see the volume has started to go down drastically after about 11 o'clock, and that relative volume is starting to decrease as well. It hit a peak of around 3 times RVOL on a 5 period, and right now we're trading at about 2.5 RVOL as the ticker takes a bit of a pullback. Let's see where VWAP is. VWAP's at 1139. We're trading at 1145, so it's pretty much already done most of its travel down into that VWAP as of right now. Very strong on the day today. Again, breaking out of a bit of a weekly high there in the pre-market prior week and the week from before. So reaching some of those price levels on Rivian.
Really tough look today for Cassava Sciences, no question about it. A little bit off the lows, 82.5% negative right now in that 4 2/3 area. In case you're just joining us today, they did report that their Alzheimer's study drug, failed to hit the primary goal, and as such, they canceled the study, the phase 3 trial mid-study, and the market really did react to that. This one was halted in the pre-market. We had Obi in this one as a long in the pre-market. Neil's got it long now, boys. What's the look?
Well, okay, I've had a few trades on Sava. I know you always got the good one on Sava, but I've had a few trades on Cassava Sciences. As I said, it's not been a bad stock, but we said it's kind of funny because we were talking about this as like a very likely stock to halt at the open. So the approach early was vastly different from the approach later. The approach early was I was taking a hold break of the $4 level, so right at the open. Oh, by the way, it's down like 82%. So I don't have to zoom out to show you how ridiculous the chart looks like when it's down that much. You guys get the idea. So I was taking a break here at about 418, like break this prior high when it holds 4, stop underneath there, don't take any profit to 1-to-1. So I opened the day looking for like minimum 20-cent move before I start getting anything out. Then I work back in and then go start like a little bit tighter stop. That's too early. Take the 4 level. Hold again, looking for 20, 30 cents before we're taking anything out. Then all of a sudden, it turns into more of a scalp trade where I'm just going to be like, forget it. If it only wants to move 25, 30 cents, and that's what we'll more aggressively take, That ended up being a mistake because that was the time that it decided to go $1. But now I'm back into it, more of a scalp trade. I'm just giving you an idea of the channel that it's trading in right now. You've got the channel from the entirety of the day, which is right in here, and then this little breakout where it kind of broke this consolidation middle of the day, started picking up volume afterward, then you've got that channel. So it's sitting inside of support from the whole day, and then this other channel. If it breaks out of this channel, why I'm on the offer there. If it breaks out of this channel, I want to get some out in front of the 480 level because that's been resistance, and then see if it can make that hunt toward $5. So I want longs into the whole day trend here that you can see down around 450, which is where we're long at 456. But it's been a good stock, just not quite as crazy as we expected.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that one. I was actually expecting some sort of halt to happen off of the open. We never really got that. And I was talking to Neil. I'm like, yeah, any and every kind of price action which would have potentially warranted a halt happened between about, I guess, 8:45 to the open. You can see it did that crazy move all the way from those day low or pre-market lows, 355s, all the way up to 532s. Yeah, 530s right there, and then comes back in and now holding above that $4 level where we saw a decent amount of volume get churned, some reserves in the pre-market as well, and we've held that level kind of stepping up above VWAP now here on Cassava Sciences. And yeah, no, I have a very similar kind of trend there going on. I also have an anchored off of that selling that came in, which is sitting just slightly lower than the current day VWAP that's been calculated here. So yeah, again, in the pre-market, this was already doing some volume right here in and around those 26, 27 levels. So I guess congrats to anybody who got short early on this morning in the pre-market session before about 7 o'clock. Right there, we talk about some of the news and some of the articles that were posted online and on X on this news, and then the company comes out this morning pretty much confirming that they have missed their drug is not really, I guess, working. They're closing down their trials. But yeah, no, it's just unfortunate. But at the end of the day, we try to play the price action. That's all that matters to me.
Yeah, it was one of those ones where, look, obviously that's not good news, but it was hard to love a short setup for Sava. Like, there was nothing that was really setting up all the way down there. Like, you just have to trade the price action. Speaking of price action, Ron says Hims is his winner here in the chat. Shout out to you, Ron. Hims is also breaking out on the daily here. So, well, on the 15-minute I have up right now. But Ron, shout out to you. This one's been a good one. But it is now through I'd say a pretty big level on the daily in the 15-minute to 30.5. Looks like it's trying to go. It's more of a more of a nice and calm breakaway from $30 here. So I feel as if with this trend, as long as it can give another consolidation off $30.5, I like this one on the long side. At least it's giving you some strength to work off of in a trend that's breaking a pretty big level as far as I'm concerned. There isn't a heck of a lot moving as much. I've seen a few people mention Apple as looking like a decent long as well. I have my eyeballs on that. Of course, also Amazon was the other one that we had mentioned. Amazon's trying to hold that 201, but Apple's making a series of higher lows. Just a bit of a pullback here, so a bit of a hiccup. Like to see it make a fresh new high before getting in. But no need to fight that. There's a bunch of small caps that are giving you some runners in here that I think make a little bit of sense, especially if you're looking for bigger moves, the market is not doing a heck of a lot. I think you got to be very careful with these big cap names and getting stuck over trading. Eyeball's still on Mara. It's still trying to make a rounded bottom. I keep looking at Bitcoin, then we just keep losing and not doing anything off 95,000. But I think this can make an outsized move. In the last hour, this one has a good range of like 50 pennies, which is a good 2% range on a $26 stock. So I like the eyeballs over here on Mara as well. Isra in the chat likes Alibaba. This is something we were talking about during lunchtime. The Chinese ADRs are going. And I had mentioned, Isra, you asked a question earlier, what I thought. I think it was you that asked about Alibaba. And my opinion was just, you're having the Chinese ADRs try to revert trend on the daily here. And Baba specifically, $86 here. Pinduoduo, about $100.50, but trying to get right back into last week's, I guess, flat bottom break. Really, it just lasted one day underneath. But if you can just wipe that out, get back above 86, this looks like it could start into a bit of an uptrend. And you know when they reverse, these Chinese ADRs like to trend. So there's nothing wrong with that. I just feel like you're going into resistance here on Alibaba. So I'm into Sava. Still, AMD's not holding VWAP, at least yet. But this HIM's certainly intriguing. I want to see that one hold on to that 30.50 level. It's still bouncing higher here as we'll let this one load up. But yeah, I like that one. It looks a little bit better for a bit of a mover there. But Israel, yeah, I like those Chinese ADRs. I'm just giving it a day on the Chinese ADRs until we take a look at a continuation long. The afternoon is not the best time to trade the Chinese ADRs. They tend to fall asleep in the afternoon.
Yeah, no, a lot of these names looking kind of muted. I'm just running through some charts here, doing potentially some scans, looking for the next potential trade. I don't really see anything that's like screaming out at me. Let me know. Scream it out in the chat if you guys are seeing anything like that, anything that maybe potentially setting up for something maybe that is working for your playbook, right? Yeah, check that out. I'm looking at chips here. Chips pretty much muted. We had AMD do a little bit of a strong action off of the open, but again, getting into that tight consolidative range as of right now. SMCI as well. We can see that SMCI very, very tight underneath that VWAP as well, and then Micron pretty much in a range. So if you pull up a SMH here, I have the chart open right here. So we can see after kind of getting in the highest volume bars of the day, we got some strength coming in all the way back up through these 245s right here, and now consolidating underneath this VWAP. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Yeah, Sava, Zoom. Okay, let's take a quick look at Zoom as well here.
They report tonight.
Oh, do they? Okay, so they report tonight right here. So, all right, so interesting chart. We had that strength in the morning, but since about 11 o'clock, we've only been getting selling. Sellers have kind of been in charge here on this ticker, which is distinctly different from Friday, where we got some strong bidding there, coming in, kind of opening near the low of day and closing literally in and around the high of day here on Zoom video. But that zooming to the upside no longer existent as we kind of break that opening range low as well. This consolidation low, VWAP as well. And now pushing for some fresh intraday lows, not necessarily a day low just yet. Opening range low is the day low. So let's see what that is real quick right there at 88.20s, trading at 88.91 on Zoom. So yeah, I guess I was looking at this and I was like, all right, well, that's a nice reversion, but guess what? It's already done, and it's given you a lot more. I would be looking for a reversion to VWAP and maybe holding some for a little bit more, and it's given you that and much, much more here. Trading, I guess, off of the high. Let's see. We've already kind of pulled back about 4% off of the high here, giving back majority of the gains from the morning session. That initial 3-minute bar, look at that. That's very, very strong here. An initial 3-minute bar on Zoom was about, yeah, it was about 4% as well happening. It gave you 4% on the long right off the bat, and then it takes about, what is this? About 3.5 hours to kind of pull back another 4% off of the high. So strong action there, I guess, when you look back at it with the bigger picture, but nothing too crazy. Let's see. Tisha Perkins saying SINT open gap upside. You said call it out. All right, let's take a look at SINT opening gap. All right, cool. So we kind of have that continuation off of the open there, and I guess it's been running up. Printing near high days as of right now, doing about 1.8 volume, average daily volume on a 30 days, about 2 million. So it's almost at that level right now. But kind of a bleak chart. It would seem, just looking at a chart like this, usually I'm like, okay, if the candles look kind of like breadcrumbs there, it might not be as liquid as I'd like it to be. But it has been trending up quite nicely, up on the day about, what is this, about 50%-ish. On the day is SINT. We were talking about some of these small cap movers on the day. Again, shortened week. We talked about this morning as well. We were like, all right, well, why might some of these tickers have some strong moves? Low volume, low liquidity, and then players kind of pushing it around can definitely, I guess, cause some moves to happen here. And SINT is a great example of that one there. I'm going to check on my Sava as well. What's Sava up to? still trading 460. So pretty much sideways. We've been consolidating pretty tight over the past, what is this, about 40 minutes or so. Yeah, I think I'm gonna just let this one potentially cook and see what happens going into the close. Again, it has been sold off aggressively. Yes, they've stopped their trials and their drug isn't really working anymore. But at the end of the day, this ticker, if you look back at it, does that mean that this ticker will potentially stop trading? I have no idea, but they've been trading since about 2000. So 2000 here, and yeah, they've had quite the journey here. Some aggressive moves in the past, and again, I'm pretty familiar with this ticker from when I started trading, and this was one of the names I definitely got squeezed out on a couple of times there with that aggressive Cassava Sciences. Yeah, so this name is known for its volatility, especially in 2020, 2021, and it's done some interesting price action in the past as well. So definitely one to watch out for. Definitely one that has the interest of people over and over again over the years. So once again, on a day like today, a lot of interest coming in. You can see that in the pre-market, we were doing over 500 to 600 relative volume in the pre-market on this ticker. And once it kind of found a base, it's only been kind of trickling up. It had that push off in the pre-market, and my question became, I'm like, all right, well, if you're going to do this kind of move there and then hold the lows and then reclaim VWAP and catch a bit of a trend on the day, are you done buying is the question that I'm asking. Here again, 45% short float on this ticker.
Is that all?
45% short float on this ticker, and it's been holding higher lows, kind of building up into the close again. It could be interesting going into the end of the week as well. I don't know if this ticker has options, but I'll check real quick right here. I'm pretty sure we can just see. Yeah.
I would imagine
they have options, right? Yeah, okay. Joe's saying he couldn't scroll any lower. Yeah, so they definitely trade some options there. So it should be interesting going into the end of the week as well, with people positioning in off of this news. And yeah, $5 definitely a key level when it comes to stonks. So we're going to be watching that pre-market highs right there at that 531.32 area here on Cassava Sciences. Let's see, Tisha Perkins again saying QMCO holding well, and talking about UAVS, VST, Zena. Okay, I see.
Just a quick update here.
Stickers.
So hopefully I'm not the jinx of HIMS, but remember we said HIMS needs to hold that 30.5. Well, it did. So this is just showing the trend from 30. Like, it's kind of easy to see. Like, here's your big red candle. There's your hold of $30. Then it starts a new trend. This reversal happened when it broke away from 30.50. Well, it just did a dip back into the trend line. I bought it, got 78s. I got some out at 90. I'm going to scalp some into the 31 level. And as long as this holds on to trend, I mean, look, the trend is your friend. It's just slowly climbing to the upside. If we close underneath the trend line, I get out. So as this continues to move up, I'm just going to keep moving my stop. As a matter of fact, now it has to go up a little bit further. I just want to respect this nice, slow, gentle. Okay, now that I've called it slow and gentle trend up, it's going to do something stupid because that's what happens, but on HIMS. So good look on the daily chart. If you remember, this was breaking out on the daily above $30.50. So the acceleration here on volume, when it held that level from the daily, we just wanted to join the first consolidation or dip. It's not doing a ton. I'd like it to break that 31, and it looks a heck of a lot better after that, especially, and Tisha, that's just, hopefully that goes over what the plan is. I do have one more offer in front of 31, then I hold the rest for a break away from that $31 level. It's just not a heck of a lot of crazy price action happening, so I think you want to be patient. I've seen a few people mention Crowdstrike, and I saw someone say in the chat they report tonight. They do not. They report tomorrow. So Crowdstrike is tomorrow after the bell. It's Zoom, as Obi already mentioned. That'll be tonight. And then Crowdstrike, that's a biggie. Tomorrow, Crowdstrike. Everyone's going to be excited for it. I shouldn't say that. A lot of people will be excited for it this week. What else are you looking at for earnings this week? Right? Like, it's got to be. It's got to be on your radar. And why? It filled in the gap, and now it's going for the 50 from the all-time, 52-week high. Let's just call it that. I'm pretty sure it's an all-time high. That $400 level. I think that's within shot, and it's been a good one. I think anybody that bought the dip when they had their concerns, is definitely done handsomely there. So there's 31 on HIMS. Technically speaking, $30.97 we just grabbed. Gonna have to be scalp trading this. I feel like the parabolic moves are not there here, or not here yet. If it breaks 31, I'll look for the first out, probably near those quarters, if it does any kind of explosive move. But right now, everything's very, very calm in the way that it's trading. So very nice stair-step action to the upside. Remember Apple? I was like, hey, Apple's starting to look good. Might turn into a little bit of a long. It's trying to get higher lows. Wah, wah, wah. Nope. How's about right back to where it came? Like, it's not sustaining the bid. It doesn't look all that good. I even looked over at Amazon, which was flying. Like, this was trending up. Like, we come back on the show at 2 o'clock, and we're like, oh, look at Amazon. Amazon's cruising. This is going to be the one this afternoon. It's going to go high the day break, but blah, blah, blah. And then all it does is bleed right back in. This is why you go over to something like a HIMS. And look, you don't have to. But this is why I went over to something like a HIMS. It's at least trending up. Like, it gives you something to work with here. Now with that 31 needing to break, SOD telling me that Rivian is flushing through VWAP. Yikes. This is why we can't have nice things. Rivian had held that. It was another one. Holding the consolidation, nice little bull flag here. You're just looking for it to hold the bottom, round back up, and look for a long into the high of the day. Instead, it does the other thing. But that's the problem. In a holiday shortened week, you're going to see stuff like this. It doesn't mean there aren't trading opportunities, but you can't just be sitting around on something that's not going. Like, you've got to find the actual movers in here. And if that's, if that means that you spend most of your time scanning, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, looking for trading opportunities is going to be a thing. Really, this can't even get past the 10s. I'll jump in front of 10 there and try and get some out there. Like, HIMS breaks through 31, no explosion. It goes 10 pennies. That's fine. But that's another reason to buy dips instead of play breaks. I think in an environment like this, looking for setups that give you entries into a long, where'd my trend line go? That give you entries into a long, as opposed to having to take some kind of like, let's go 31 breakout, everybody. Not the way the market's moving today. I think it's just more of a trend trade to the upside. I'll see if it can get to 31.5 bucks. That'd be great if it could. But as long as it can hold on to the trend, we're good to go. Now, all of a sudden, because this is so gentle to the upside, it can't turn into a loser. We close underneath here, and I'm out when it loses that 30.80, so can't lose on the trade. But that's the kind of thing I'm going to be looking for this afternoon. Just give me something like this, where either it's a strong stock going into a new territory, a trend to the upside, going into new territory on the daily, and giving you a solid entry plan where I can jump in and actually have a structured trade with the trend, as opposed to, I don't know, hoping something happens on Nvidia, hoping something happens on Apple or Tesla, which I haven't looked at in a hot minute. I feel like I'm going to hate myself when I pull this chart up. Yeah, exactly, Tesla. Yeah. It's honestly like today, when looking back at this, and this is another thing Obi and I were discussing amongst the many, like if you simply just judge yourself like, hey, look, I caught a bounce here on Tesla that went a couple bucks and a bounce here on Tesla, so even though I had some tight stops in there, you're still up on the stock. That doesn't mean it did well trading it. Just because you're up on a stock doesn't mean you did well trading it. Because what I look at here is, oh, that was a 52-week run in the pre-market, and then just lose immediately that 52-week high, which was 58, and then roll through. Well, that probably was a short, maybe not here, but there and there. That you can be up on the long, but be able to acknowledge that, hey, this stock was a short today, and I got to find a way that the next time this setup happens, I'm not trying to take some money out of the long, but I'm looking to make some real money or bigger money out of the short trade here on Tesla. A bit of a disappointment there. For me. This HIMS, though, yeah, like it's still at exactly 31.10. Some point I'd like it to do something parabolic. Oh, here's one more stock I wanted to mention. These, the nuclear stocks today. SMR, load. Wow. I don't know, like if you're trading this bad, like I have this one in my account. Now, that said, like I rang the register in front of 30 on Friday. So it's like one of those, it looks like a genius move now, but it looked idiotic in the pre-market. yeah, the nuclear stocks got moked today. But they've been on a pretty solid rally trending to the upside. If you're in one of these, and I know, like I'm in this one, you just sort of look at what's been going on. It's an ugly trend line, but it's been a pretty steady one. You've got a nice little channel that this is essentially trading off of here. If it breaks the channel, it's not crazy that this is back at like 17, 18. And let's be real, that's where a lot of entries are in the stock. There's a bunch in here at the 13 when we were first bringing it up, and then there's a bunch in here in the 17, 18. So if it loses that, this is profit. There'll be profit takers from these areas if we lose this trend here on SMR. So I have some eyeballs on that for, I mean, obviously that's for maybe tomorrow, a little bit later on, but you got to acknowledge what happened in this, and it wasn't alone. I believe NNE had an offering. So there's a reason why NNE was
on there?
Yeah, I think so. I'll double check that in a second. I think these guys were an offering. That's why they're like 25% down, but watch out. I know we've been talking a lot about the nuclear names. I feel like we should at least mention that one. Kevin Dubs, you had SMR at $9. Congratulations! I love Clay Davis. The Clay Davis. Downtown Clay Davis. The Wire is the greatest show of all time. Let's go to Adera.
To comment there on the NNE story, that is correct. NNE is down here. Nanonuclear energy down about 25% here. They did announce that they've secured a $60 million private placement to help advance their portable nuclear microreactor technologies. They also want to be able to boost cash position now up to over $120 million. So basically here, Nanonuclear, just to confirm, they did announce a $16 million private placement. They also have a 16.4% short float, guys.
Here because Ari Page is in the chat. Neelaj got that lung capacity. Yo, I could have dropped that Clay Davis. Like, trust me, there was more. But the call came to Adera. So, no, I'm not. Ramin, the moment is gone now. I'm not just going to randomly do it. We'll find another opportunity, but trust me, I've banged that one out like crazy before, a little bit longer. We'll get a more genuine moment for it, Fabian. I'm just saying. And my voice is dying today. I'm definitely struggling on my voice a little bit. And if you've never seen The Wire and you're not into football and if on Thursday there's no like Black Friday sales that you're into and you're not watching football and you got the day off and there's no market and you're bored, one, read a book. Two, maybe check out, binge The Wire, the greatest show of all time. Right, Obi? The greatest TV show of all time, right, Obi? Number one, huh?
I've never seen it. Actually, I've heard about it, The Wire.
Joe says Breaking Bad.
I haven't seen Breaking Bad either, but I've heard some good things about it. I've seen The Office.
Breaking Bad's in my top 10.
The Office is good.
The Office is unbelievable.
The Office is pretty good.
The Office is an unbelievable show.
It was funny because I was like, how I got into it. The story was kind of funny. I was like, I don't usually watch shows like this, and I was like, whatever, I'll try it out. I watched the first episode. I ended up watching the first season. And I was like, okay, this is pretty funny. You know, it's nice. It's nice to have on, and it gets pretty interesting. Has that?
It's a classic.
It's almost addicting to watch. A
Absolutely.
bit. Yeah, because I'm just like, okay, what is the next thing?
It holds up the second time through. Like there was a moment where The Office was my workout show, where like I was rewatching it while I worked out, and man, does it ever hold up? Towards the end, it gets kind of trash. But I'll tell you right now. I see people put in The Sopranos, 100% that's in the top 10. Breaking Bad's in my top 10 too. I will say, there's another show that as a series does not hold up, but the first season of Prison Break. Like just the first season, like standalone, just the first season was one of the best shows that I've seen. The rest of it, utter trash. Yeah. Because what do you do? Like you could, by the name, is how where's the story gonna go. Kyle Burdett, that's right. The cheese stands alone. Another reference that I'm sure you don't get, but METHOD, man. Method Man, of course, playing cheese in The Wire. Great show. But Hims is continuing to go because that's how it rolls.
I used to like run home to watch Dragon Ball Z. That's pretty much my extent of watching a lot of shows there. So
I have nothing against.
Do you ever watch Dragon Ball Z? I don't know.
No, my brother's.
If there was any show that I was like really into, it was more when I was like when I was a kid in school. I haven't really been into too many shows since then. But oh, actually, you know what? I like some BBC shows are pretty dope. I like Sherlock is dope.
That's a good show. Then you'll like
Sherlock.
Luther. Check out Luther.
I've actually watched a couple episodes of Luther. That was pretty good. But yeah, no, I don't really. It's hard for me to get into shows. But if and when I do get into one, I really do get into one. But, most of the things I'm just like, okay.
You know, Obi, like, first of all, I'm not asking a lot here. Yeah. I'm just simply saying, just try The Wire.
The Wire.
It's the writing in that show is brilliant. I think what you learn a lot about is just like organizational hierarchies and how they can basically like poison the ability to be productive. And you see it in like every single facet where like just how things fall apart because of like poor leadership, things like that. It really drives that point home big time, where people, all of a sudden people lose sight. They're caring about themselves and they're not caring about the bigger picture. And it's a really great show, and every single layer gets better and better. Okay. But a couple of things here. Him still holding on the trend. It just got to 31.25. I think we might hit target $31.50 here, which again, to each their own. Like the stock is already up 25%. So I was never really thinking this was going to make a massive extension past here. And I would acknowledge that it's very top heavy in a market not doing too much. And if it loses this trend, I'm still going to jump out of it. There's a couple of other things that I want to talk about here. I mean, Sava's literally not doing anything, so there's not much to go with. The market is trying to bounce. Tesla's still hanging off of those lows. Apple is doing a much better job of trying to go, though. So I think this is looking a little bit better on Apple. It's now broken out that prior high. So it suddenly looks like a level that I want to play off of. It lost big time at noon off of this price, 230.70 or so. So on this dip, if it can hold on to this prior high, break out the top, then I want to go into the long here on Apple, which will be about 20. It lets me get in about 230.90 or so, and then I can always just give it like a tight stop underneath. Because I want only tight stops here. I don't want to be losing big on anything, not the way this market's moving. It might be power hour coming up, but you see how these stocks are going. You want to make sure that you're not trying to hit home runs on stocks that only give you singles.
Yeah, power hour in about 8 minutes, Neil. So I found a ticker that's trending to the downside, Crowdstrike. Did you take a look at Crowdstrike here? Pre-market, definitely very crowded. No, I'm joking. It was doing relative volume as well. So more crowded than usual, I would say. Off the open, nice little selling. I don't know if this one really had, I guess, they had some raising price targets right here. Okay, so it doesn't seem like there was anything too crazy in the pre-market. I don't know what the news was on this just yet, but let's see. So they might have had some price target raises here, but in the pre-market, it was doing relative volume here, kind of a gap up that failed, holding that VWAP in the pre-market, and then continues to fade down in. So I'm curious to know, did anybody really trade Crowdstrike today? If so, did you take it in the morning session, the midday session right here? It's been trending down pretty nicely, extending away from that VWAP, decreasing volume, but that relative volume pretty steady since the morning session here as we take a lower day high or pre-market high coming in at 378 here, trading at 361. So down a decent percent here, almost about 4% off of, well over 4% off of the morning highs as of right now here on Crowdstrike. Again, I'm not really seeing too much. I have up here the volume leaders, so we can take a look at some of those and see if there's any potential opportunities setting up in some of the tickers that are doing the most volume on the day. So RGTI is the first I'm hearing about this name. Rigetti Computing is an electronic company. Let's see what they kind of do here. Quantum computing. Okay, so another quantum computing ticker here. A bit of a gap up and continuation off of the open there. Pre-market high breaks, pullback holds, and a push through that high a day there sitting now at 337. Holding VWAP. Seems like a lot of these tickers, Neil, have kind of come in and around to their VWAP and holding and consolidating in those areas. So we're seeing that happen on a few different tickers today. So Nvidia, second top traded one on the day today, holding a bit of a base here on top of this 136, but that VWAP, it seems like that area has been kind of dominant in terms of selling. Every time it kind of comes into or near VWAP, we've been getting that selling back into this 136,
We got a
36 half level right here. So yeah, okay, so we have a, do you want to cover that or?
Yeah, you know what? Let's get to the super chat here. First of all, thank you, Vinu, for the super chat. We appreciate you. We appreciate all the viewers. If you have a question, all you got to do is be in the chat, throw it in there. So it's a subscribers only chat. Hit the subscribe button if you can. Take a quick second to do that. Hit the like button as well. We got a great community. If we miss questions, we have a lot of regulars, very knowledgeable. But no issues commenting on ELF. Might not be what you want to hear. I shorted last week based on Carlson's short report, but it has come back completely. Thank you. So, and every single time there's a short seller report or something of that ilk, most of us will say the same thing. I know I'll say it. I know Sean will say it. I think most of us that have traded for a while will tell you the same thing. It is very atypical for there to be a short seller report come out and they're initiating some kind of a short position. They are short, and then they are dropping the report, and that is part of their exit liquidity plan, generally speaking. From a general trading strategy for these short sellers, that's part of it. Now, I can't tell you where they're short. Are they short at 210? Are they short at 180? Are they short at 160? I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe they built the short in here. I have no idea. But what we can usually say is when the short report drops and you get that big volume day, that's typically, oh, wait a minute, Sava's coming up. Let me just quickly show you. Sava just came out, so I wanted to quickly show you. That was a heavy candle. I got to zoom back in. Sorry, guys. But I just loaded 45s back in, 450s, and it lost 440, which was where my stop was. Always trade with a stop, everybody. If you're scalping, then trade with a stop. So that's what just happened in Sava. I'm out. I'm not in the longs from earlier. That was a long where I was sitting bid at 450. That just came out. We're jumping out of Cassava Sciences. Got to preserve the profit from earlier today because that's coming back in. But just to finish the thought there on ELF, when you have that big day to the downside, I typically say if it makes a bottom on the day of the report and holds the higher low, it's a long. So it made the bottom. You can't even hold a higher low because it basically closes at the top, holds the close, breakout. I usually prefer the long trade after you get that flush out bottom. I think it's really tricky to try and say, unless you're day trading, like if you're day trading it and you just get the short on a big news story of the actual short report coming out, if you can catch that short in real time, that's one thing. But trying to hold it as a swing, very, very tricky thing to do when that's the exit liquidity plan. You get these relief rallies. There was an awesome one on Square a couple of years ago that a lot of people caught, I know, on this floor. So I'd be very, very careful about ever shorting because a short seller report just came out. Sometimes it can be dead on, and something like an SMCI will, you'll have the bad news in the short seller report, then other bad things will pile on top of it. But most times, to my experience, it's not the best timing to enter a short position unless it's a strict little day trade. Adera.
Another small cap popping up here as we head into Power Hour. The real, REAL, this name has run before, coming into highs of days here with, as you can see, quite an outstanding volume candle on this 15-minute chart. No catalyst that I can find. 3 million shares total traded on the day. They have a short float here of 22.6%. So REAL on watch, guys.
Oh, looking like
it's really going.
Real move. Yeah,
oh,
nice.
Well,
I like that.
No, your reviews is better. Dang it. Well played.
It's a real move there.
Well played.
I like how we both jumped at the opportunity there. That one was. Here's the thing. When multiple traders think a setup is good, some confluence, maybe you want to size a little bit bigger. I don't know.
Okay, so here's my only beef with that. So while that's true, if everyone thinks that, if there's a lot of people that think an idea is good, especially these follow traders,
a lot of people.
It could be okay.
Yeah.
My only thing is, back when Sean and I had our own trading floor, I'm dating myself, years ago, especially after the 08 crisis, specifically on BAC. If our floor, if a bunch of momentum traders on the floor, if we were like net long and like a third or like a quarter of the traders are into BAC, we're screwed. I was like, I'd look over and it's like, oh my goodness, half the guys are long BAC, guaranteed we're going to lose that day and lose specifically on that trade. For whatever reason it was, if we thought it looked good, it was bad. And it was specific to BAC. I always hated that stock for that reason. But in a general sense, I get what you're saying. Like if its setup looks really good, sometimes it is good. Just be careful. The whole notion that is a crowded trade. If it's too crowded, it's worse if it goes bad. More people running to the exit at the same time with the same idea of where they're running to the exit. And then you get a little bit of extra bleed that you don't ultimately want. Just one thing, that real stock, volume kind of, a little bit meh, and HIMS might be losing the bid. So I tried to hold on to HIMS for that last little push. I mean, I wanted to make the scalp trade, which worked, the 30.78, got us into the 31 level. It doesn't quite get to the $0.50, but I'd moved my stop to closer to break even. Like we got a decent move off of it. Probably could have got it out here, but I wanted to hold on. We're going to hold that last little bit for a bit of a bigger move there. But if you can get 1 point, you get a $30 stock, goes 30 cents for you. You can get that 1 point with a relatively easy stop level underneath. There's nothing wrong with that. Right? Like if you can risk 10, 15 cents, then that's perfectly fine. So HIMS, I'm now out of it. We're able to get out at break even or just slightly above it. Ring the register on a win, and that's what it has to be. Got to find some very specific and particular trades in here, and I'm not seeing a heck of a lot. So thankfully, the one that we just took has worked, but I don't want to force anything. Yeah, it's 3 o'clock, but I'm not feeling like I want to force any price action in pretty much anything. Remember Apple? I'm like, oh yeah, if Apple can just hold that consolidation and break out past the high, nope. What does it do again? It starts bleeding back in. So you're not getting any follow through. What did you just do to my screen? Okay. That was weird. So like you guys saw my screen was okay, but like this just turned off when Fabian walked past me. Electric boogaloo? I don't know. Apparently
the electric waves are of interference.
Electric relaxation. Top 2 Tribe Called Quest song of all time.
The electric slide.
You know the electric slide? Ooh.
Yeah, of course. What do you mean?
Electric Relaxation and Award Tour are my 2 favorite Tribe Called Quest songs. It's a toss-up. Some days I like one more than the other. Everyone's all like, it's scenario. You have no idea what I'm talking about, do you?
I'm listening.
Oh, okay.
No,
where's Adera? I'm talking Tribe. That's fine. I'm old.
I'm musically inept, I guess.
Sure. I can rap every word of that song. Back, forth, sideways.
A word?
Almost positive, yep.
Okay, so you're doing that on well, wait a minute, maybe on Friday. No. Shoot,
We'll figure out a date for it.
I want to hear you do that. I can't.
I'll clean it up and I'll find a way to clean it up and we'll figure out a way to do it.
Oh, this is happening.
I want to do this. I love this song.
Oh yeah, let's go. And she can too. And right, Darwin, rest in peace, Fife. My name Fife Diggy, and I got something to say. I like 'em brown, yellow, Puerto Rican, a Haitian. Name is Fife Dog from the Zulu Nation. Yeah. I won't do the whole thing because I can't do the whole thing. I'm telling you, but that's a joint right there. Rest in peace, Fife. But man, this market does not want to do much of anything for us here. Look at Nvidia. It stinks. What's that guy? There was a comedian, balding, kind of like me, black hair, and it was this whole thing. It stinks. John Lovitz, I think it was. It was this whole thing. Just really. It stinks.
Yeah, no, I'm not really catching up. A lot of people are saying, oh, you gotta catch up, Obia.
You gotta catch up. Well, Pickle Jim, why didn't a Tribe Called Quest just call themselves Quest? Probably the same reason why you've got to say a pimp named Slickback. Not Slickback, a pimp named Slickback. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't know, well then at some point you've got to check out the Boondocks. I just got to say that. And saying, look at Intel, please tell me something. Intel through VWAP? Okay, so we're bleeding through the bottom on NVIDIA, and Intel's trying to break out through VWAP. It's up 3% on the day. Please give us something it can move. By the way, HIMS, that was the right out. It would be out of the money if we hadn't taken it out, so that was a good decision to get out of it. Intel, this is $25 on the daily, so it's actually got some confluence. Ideally, we'd be breaking out 25.60, but beggars can't be choosers in a market like this. I'm actually going to drop a line here on Intel, just so I don't forget that we want long 25.60 breaking at any point this week. That was interesting. That's the second time I've gotten this invalid session AUNZ. Let's just get rid of that. I'm not trading over in Australia, obviously. I have no idea what it does that. But yeah, I do like this above VWAP in this 25 level. So we can hold, obviously it just broke now, but if it can pull back and maybe hold a consolidation, this can give you some kind of a reasonable entry with trend, room to the top, market's not doing anything, and it is trying to go. Kyle Burdett, oh, you guys, I love you guys. And if you don't know, now you know. You can't finish that one. Nobody's finishing that sentence.
A lot of selling coming in on the market here across the board. I got out a chunk of that Sava there as we pull back in a little aggressively, but again, not everything just yet. I never got really a chance to get into everything that I wanted on this ticker here, as it did a decent chunk of the move in the pre-market. I wasn't really expecting that to happen. Wow, look at Tesla, man. Tesla's coming in real hot into that low a day. There's some strong volume coming in as well. And the market pulling right back into that 20,800 area, just hovering above it, 20,840s as of right now. And wow, look at that, 345s coming in here on Tesla. So that's selling really coming in aggressively. Tesla is making fresh lows. Amazon, interestingly, got to its day high and pulling back off of it there as the market pulls back in. Let's take a look at what else is going on here. So Nvidia back at its lows. So Nvidia setting up as a little bit of a flat bottom here on Nvidia. Let me just pull this in right here. I can. Thank you. So Nvidia, a bit of a flat bottom break potential setting up right here as we've tested that 136 level multiple times. Oh boy, there goes that chart and that book. You guys saw that kind of that push down on Tesla. So aggressive selling. Are we taking out stops? What is the next trade? That's what I'm asking right now. And what is that line on my chart? Okay, so that we're reaching about an ATR worth of a move here on Tesla off of the open, pushing that 345 mark right here as the market takes a little bit of pullback or continuation of the trend we saw off of the open. Strong selling off of that 20,100. All we're getting is a bit of continuation there. That second aggressive selling came in, around 12 o'clock right here. So around noon time, 20,900 flushes down to 20,800 within about 45 minutes there, and then catches a bid. But yeah, let's see if Nvidia can catch a bid once again here, as it has been over and over again. 135.70s is the low. We're trading 136.40s. I'm actually curious, so I'm going to pull up the tape right here. So let's see, NVDA. Let's see if we see anything in particular here on the tape. So we already know where the prices are. So this is, I feel like this is a situation where you don't really need the chart as much, because I've identified that prior low being in and around 135.70. We're coming in 136s. So let's see if there's anything significant coming in here on NVDA as we take a little bit lower. So the market, let's see if it catches a bit of a bid. We've been catching a bit of a bid over the past few 15-minute candles here, and being in and around this 136 area. I guess got to give it to the 136.22. Oh boy, okay, so where was I reading 35.70? Okay, 136.22 is the day low here on NVDA. So you know what, I actually like this. I'm going to pull up Nvidia here. That's a pretty decent risk. I think if you're taking it taking it off of the day low, some strong volume there coming in off of the opening range, and this was the same kind of bid. That 136.20 bid took us all the way to VWAP at 138.50s as well, in and around the morning session, the end of the morning session. So about from like 10:30 to about 11:30. So it took about an hour for that bid to come in. Going into the midday session there, we're coming right back into some of those lows. So I'm curious to know whether or not we find some sort of bid, some sign of a bid here. The fact of the matter is, I wasn't really watching it on the way down. So what do I really want to see here? So we're seeing some flushes of green, some flushes of red. What does that mean? Bright green above the bid, dark green below the bid. We're holding 136.50s as of right now. The market taking a little bit of a pullback up. Oh boy, Sava as well coming in, but I want to see if we hold below this kind of bar high 450s, 460s, where we got that aggressive selling coming in. I'm more than willing to kind of get back in this trade, but again, probably won't have the price from earlier. I really like my current price on this ticker, as it's been only trading above that level. I'm probably not getting that price, but you never know. Company could come out and be like, all right, well, since that's done, we're going to raise some more money, or I don't know. You know what I mean? Like if they do an offering or whatever, they're like, all right, well, we've gone much lower than 20s. We're at $4. Who knows? I don't know. I got to check the filings to see if they have one in the pipeline. Sometimes the trade is much nicer if they already have, I guess, offerings in the pipeline and their ability to use those. But again, on a day like today, it is doing some significant relative volume, and I think it's open for a lot of things to happen. We're trading in and around that anchor that was here. So we've held some of those prior levels as of right now here on Sava. You can see that we kind of broke back through this trend, and that's where soon after we broke that trend from the day lows, we got that aggressive selling, but we're still currently holding days VWAP, anchored VWAP from the event down here at 425s, and some prior lows down here in above that $4 level, where we saw some significant volume churning, not only in the pre-market, but in the open session. Going into the midday session, we held above that $4 for a tick back above that VWAP, and as of then, we've been consolidating and holding above VWAP. So going to continue watching that one, but that aggressive selling coming into power hour here, not really what I want to see. If I see some more potential for a squeeze going into the end of the day, I want to get more involved. But again, I think I was looking for a much bigger move. Again, we talk about this in the morning session. I was looking for it to halt one way or another. I didn't really care what happened off of the first halt, but on the first halt, up or down. But I think the action that would ensue afterwards is what I was more interested in on Cassava, but it didn't do any of that. So I was like, all right, well, didn't really do what I was looking for, not doing what I was looking for. So I don't feel comfortable getting aggressive with it in terms of putting a risk on. But I guess, like I said, in the pre-market, wasn't really expecting it to do this move from $3.60 to $5.20. I was actually sitting at 25s for a bit of a sell. Never really got filled. That was interesting, and it pulled right back in there on Cassava.
Zena's starting to go again.
So yeah, you're saying Zena's starting to go. That is continuing. What's the short float on that thing?
Let me double check. Zena.
Let me check that off.
You know what? I actually don't have the short float data.
Here, I can check.
Yeah, let's check another source because I don't have it on Trade Ideas. Yeah. But it's only an 8 million. Zena's only an 8 million float and 29%. Yeah, so like the story is both the short float and the low float name. I like the fact here. However, it just tried to retake that $5 level. I still think 6 is a big level. Look, pull it out on the daily chart. We already showed that one at $6. But if it can start to hold out and about above that prior high, it did pull back into VWAP, curl back up. So I like this upward trend because I think anybody shorting it, anyone shorting at 5 probably got their win, but anybody shorting it off the lower highs, they might have been trying to hold it past that 5 level. Or, in a general sense, you got to think about how far this has come. Like, there's probably some shorts that would like this all the way back to like a 2 or a 3 that you got to try to respect. So I think if it can consolidate up here, it's got to make some kind of a bid soon. Then I like the regain of the long back in. I'm just going to quickly show you what we're talking about over there on Intel. Grab the long into prior bar low, which will be like 25.10. The long at VWAP 2 there. Just looking for the structured trade. And then HIMS, of course. HIMS, we get out at the break even. It goes all the way back into $30.50. We were in at like 78. Don't know if I would have liked it all back, all the way back into that level. Trying to regain the trend back up. It is still making, it's still going, but that's a lower high where it's consolidating. So I don't know how much I love it at that price. And then Tisha, we were just going over Zena, and I feel like that's the next opportunity one way or another. Like, there's a nice little rejection candle to the downside there on the 3-minute. Like, if we can close this one back above $5, that's the entry I'm looking for. So, we got like 30 seconds for us to close this one back above $5. If it does, then you have a nice bottoming tail candle on an attempted pullback and a shot for it to break it back out. You've got a big runner, And again, there's just a little confluence around that $6 level, like a couple of closes down around that price. And the fact that $4, like look at it. Hold $3, hold $4, $5 resistance. There's easily some room for it to get to 6, but first it has to close this above the $5 levels, and I'll look for an entry, which it's going to do right about now. Come on, hold that bid, hold that bid. Where are the buyers on this thing? Level 2 is not as great above the $5 levels you would expect. Like it's actually pretty weak above, like there's a 501 here, but no one's really stepping up into like 3s, 4s, and 5s, which is ideally what you'd like to see. So as much as it closed the bar above the $5 level, there's just nobody buying. So I'm not gonna just step out in front of it. I wanna see buying and join it, not just sit there because of what happened on a candle. That's a little bit disappointing. Like the second it closed above what I was looking for with that rejection candle, immediately, it's like the buyers at 5, 6, and 7 evaporated. There was one buyer at 501. They took a fill and no one else stepped up. I want to see them start stepping up here again, then I'll jump in. Here we go. Now you're starting to see some buy action. Let's see if I can get some at 4 or 5 in here. Hit me, hit me. Do I have to step up? Okay, I had to step up to 505. I just wanted to see some buying start to come into this bad boy. I don't want it losing this 480 area. So obviously this stock can go like a bunch, but that doesn't mean I'm going to risk forever on it. I think it's reasonable to risk 30 pennies on a stock like this. It's got room to the high of the day, which is about 530. So I'm taking a 5 long. If I can get something out in front of the 530 level, then I'm getting about that 1-to-1, and then we can try to hold for a bigger move. So far, Zena, if my lungs were capable of it, trust me, if this got to $6, I would try to do that Zena scream thing that Lucy Lawless pulls off. But I can't do that, so I'm not going to. I'm going to get some out in front of that pre-market high. This local top, look at that, just immediately goes into 530 and then dips right back in. You know, if it does that again, see if I can get cheeky and maybe reload some if it tries to do that little bit of a dip again. So Zena continuing to go. Bob Curran, you're right. Like, what else is running here? Like, this is trying to go. You had Hims, which is, what's Hims doing? You know what? I'll just do this. Zena's actually moving. Hims not going again. So starting to pull right back in, not doing anything. Looks like Zena is going to have to try to be this one in here. It's just no follow through that high of day. It's doing everything you want, but hey, we still have some time in here for it to work. We've got the scalp trade. If I don't take a reload, maybe wait to see it hold the 5 a little bit longer. Play some actual patience so they're just getting on the bid and thinking scalp out. Like the next play is to hold it to 550 and see what happens from there. I mean, so far so good on Zena, the warrior stock.
Yeah, the thing is definitely.
I don't even know what they do.
So I would say there's a bit of a battle going on that ticker there. Sava as well, losing, I guess, long starting to lose a little bit of the battle here as we tick a little bit lower back into that 420 area here on Cassava. Hasn't really gone anywhere near its day low just yet. That $4 mark, I think, is a good place to reassess. We're only about 20, 25 pennies away from there. That's why once it got back below some of these prior lows, with that aggressive selling, some follow through of that $5 rejection right here, I was like, all right, well, you know what? That's I think. If we're going to squeeze, I'm going to come back to it going into the end of the day, but not really looking like that, as again, a lot of the buying seems like it happened in the pre-market and a little bit off of the open as well on the day here, hitting an intraday high here of in and around these 490s pre-market high again, in around 530s there on Cassava Sciences. So. With only about, I guess, 42 minutes left here on the day. Again, shortened week, not really seeing anything too crazy as of right now. Got into Nvidia on that 136 hold. Once again, let's see. It has been making lower highs here, so that's something you do want to consider. But with the market kind of just chopping and churning into the end of the day here, let's see what that brings going into the close. But yeah, no, Nvidia holding underneath that VWAP. You can see that pretty clear and clean trend to the downside with a flat bottom here at that 136 holding as of right now. Looking for maybe a potential pushback up towards some of these highs. You can see that since VWAP, we've been trending quite cleanly to the downside here on Nvidia. Let's see if we can kind of come back into this trend 137s and maybe piece them off. And then if we break that trend, maybe push for VWAP But that's just kind of I guess that'll have to be reassessed when and if we do come back into that trend resistance here on Nvidia. But if we hold a little bit of the bid here, get that bit of market tailwind as well. Let's see what we can do on Nvidia. Amazon, although, is holding quite well here. So take a look at Amazon. Amazon is traded pretty much all the way back up to those 201s right here. So we did make a dip down into 199s, pulls right back in, and kind of consolidated on the day sideways here on Amazon. Microsoft as well. We can see that it's been consolidating underneath, in and around its VWAP as well. 417's holding on the ask. Google as well, bit of a trend back up. We were looking at this one as a trend resistance, and then it can push up a little bit higher, or it's been pushing up a little bit higher off of this VWAP here. Again, day low around 166s as of right now, but overall we've been making lower highs on the day as well. What's going on, Adera?
Oh, it's not Adera. We've got Trade the Pool. Big shout out to Trade the Pool, because imagine trading with a real advantage. Obi. Trade the Pool gives stock traders like you the edge with their funding program. For a one-time fee, you join their evaluation. And once you hit the profit target, you're funded. That means you get to trade with up to $260,000 in capital with none of the risk on your end. Now, with the Super Buying Power Limited Edition, it's even easier to reach the funded status. This exclusive program features a reduced profit target of just $3,150, fewer minimum trades, only 10, an upgraded 70-30 payout split. And on top of it, you can join with a 10% discount right now. Why wait? Check out tradethepool.com and see how you can trade bigger, better, and faster with the Super Buying Power Limited Edition. Big shout out to Trade the Pool. Go get them. And speaking of which, in terms of trading opportunities, Zena, which I didn't even realize, Zena actually is trying to get to 200% up. It's kind of like maybe a psychological thing happening, but it's stalling out here. Every single time it gets to about $5.30, remember $5.30 we were just talking about? It gets to $5.30 and they just stack the offer. And what I mean by that is, I guess I have a level too I can show you guys here. So I'll just type in Zena because that didn't automatically shift. So it gets up into the 5.30 range and see what happens. You know, stack it at 27, stack it up there at 32 and 31s. So like everybody, after it already bounced there the first time, are deciding they want to take profit there. So it's got to chew through that inventory. I'm still thinking 550 out. Like looks like every 25 pennies or so is resistance. So 5.25. I'm sitting out in front of 550. Like it just pushed through again a bunch of those orders, and lo and behold, more sellers. Like they just keep jumping in here at 34. Like it would be one thing to just jump in with them, but there's more. Like I said, like I'm trying to get out above the 40 level, but at the end of the day, you're not really seeing a ton of follow through. At this point, with the amount of selling here, I don't want it losing the $5 level. As a matter of fact, that prior bar looks like a bit of an out. The thing about, and the reason why for my, well, it could easily be the wrong decision. Obviously, any decision you make, you don't really know 100%. But if we lose this support at 5, I'd rather be out early and not get rinsed to 480 if it's not going to give me this push through. And you don't have that much time for this trade to work either. It's already 323. We'll just take what we can get out of it. I got to flash over to INTC here, which is now losing support at the 10 level. So you're going to see me get out there. That's where my orders went. This chart is for some reason not fully loading, but it lost this prior bar. So we got out. Don't know why that black chart's not loading. Usually the black chart's pretty good. So only into Zena. Right now, 1 for 3 this afternoon. It'll be HIMS was good. Intel stinks because it's not really doing anything. And then Zena working for now. Oliver's saying SMCI is going. Ooh. Yeah, of course now SMCI would go. My eyeballs are going to be on Zena, obviously. But of course SMCI would decide now is the time to go. There it is. Yeah, it's above VWAP. Is there enough time to get into this? Till too far. Can't chase. Can't chase. Not when you want your out 37. Maybe you work it off of this area at 37.40. It's tough to chase it up here at the $38 level. I just can't pull the trigger on that one. But congratulations if you took that. I mean, certainly. I mean, Zena was a case of and HIMS too. Like, you had to buy high, sell higher. Forget about getting on the dip at VWAP. These ones you're just following the move because they're parabolic. But yeah, VWAP looked like it was a great one there for you on SMCI, up 15%. We started the day off. It was the first long we had. I guess we could have come right back to it. Adera?
Keep an eye here on JWN Nordstrom, up about 6.8%. Not seeing any catalyst for this. It's worth noting Macy's was down earlier today after they delayed their preliminary earnings, and basically due to an accounting issue that apparently was intentional with hiding some money in their deliveries. Either way, JWN here to the upside with that volume spike. It's worth noting Nordstrom is set to report their own earnings tomorrow after the bell, so keep an eye on Nordstrom with earnings. They also have a 12% short float, so that's going to be earnings tomorrow night, guys. JWN.
Right, some anticipation of those earnings, apparently. Yeah, I see that you're still kind of working with that Zena. The Zena continues to take
holding,
back up. But yeah, no, I'm looking at this SMCI as well, man. Market kind of still not really doing too much. 6,000 churn here on the ES. So we've been kind of washing this 6,000 over the past hour or so. And I guess we were trying to hold it after 1 o'clock right there. But for the past couple of hours, it's just been churning. Not really going anywhere, not really doing anything here on the ES. Just 5 points above, 5 points below. Nothing too crazy. All right, so we got some couple of questions in the chat. Okay, so let's go. Is asking, what am I looking for in Nvidia? I'm just looking for this level to hold. This level has shown that it's hold multiple times over again. And looking for it to continue to hold for a potential push going into the end of the day. But I do realize that we are building, we're kind of extended away from VWAP. We've been holding and building lower highs into this level. So it does, it is technically, I guess, looking like a breakdown here coming in. But again, I'm just going off of the fact that it's been holding 136s. Just curious to know how well those 136s hold going into the end of the day with, again, only about 30 minutes left in the trading day there. Like I said, I'm not really seeing anything too crazy here going into the close, so I don't really have anything to really push some aggressive risk onto. But if and when I do see that, I'm more than willing to kind of act a little more aggressively. So on the day, like I said, the future's kind of consolidating sideways. If you're in from the morning, some of these shorts have been working out quite well for you. But yeah, the longs incrementally did work, I guess, but selling is definitely more dominant on the day today here across the board for a majority of these names. But this SMCI, man, this SMCI is starting to push. 38.20s coming in now, 39.23s is the day high. And this is what I was kind of looking for on Sava, that we'd potentially look to push a little bit higher here going into the close, and we're not really seeing any sort of that action right here on Cassava. But SMCI seems like it's the one to keep an eye out for a potential push into the close as we near that closing bell. Only about 32 minutes left in the trading day here, Neil. So I don't really see anything too much. People still talking about Nvidia. Yeah, I know. I'm watching that Nvidia as it comes back into that 136 once again. So we'll see how that one kind of goes. A bit of a stacked offer there on these on 136.50s, as you can see. So we did say we're going to watch some of this tape here as we push into the low. So that size, did it get taken out? Yes, it did. A lot of that size at 136 halves gets taken out on the bid there on Nvidia. So it seems like sellers definitely had some selling to do there as those buyers got hit pretty aggressively. But again, we're holding, sustaining on top of this 136 half right now. So maybe everything that was shown may not be the whole thing as of right now, as even after all those orders get filled, we still hold 136 half, doing significant.
You mean to tell me size on the bid was not indicating all the shares available at that particular price level?
Yeah.
That's utter nonsense.
Look at that.
I've been trading for over 2 decades, and I can tell you with utmost certainty that when you look at a level 2, what you see is what you get. And absolutely, why would there ever be any shares hidden in the dark or refreshing? Or no, I'm obviously joking about all of that, especially on a video. There was a question someone asked earlier today, what's a good amount of size on an Nvidia bid? And I'm like, at what kind of a price? At a random price in the middle of the day, at a big even dollar level? Like, there's so many different ways that you could look at that. And the answer is it really just depends. At an even dollar level, like a few million shares would be big size. At a random price like now, like 50,000 shares could seem like a lot, but the reality is the big dark pool prints, that's where it's really at. Like if you can see some of those chunks start to come off, sometimes it's a little more indicative. If we can't push through Zena at 530 in a short little bit, I might have to tighten the stop up. We're hitting 330 and this is not going anywhere. Let's go over to Adera, get a little bit of a look at that board to see what is weak and what is strong with a sector watch.
What we're going to do here is take a look at some of these larger movers on a percentage basis to the upside and the downside today in the S&P 500. As we always do here about halfway through Power Hour around 3:30 p.m. I always like to have a theme for this segment. So what we're going to do today is take a look at the larger upside movers from names that reported earnings last week. So let's see how some of these last week's earnings plays are doing today as we start a new week. You have lows here, LOW. This one up about 4%, doing pretty high actually, near high of days. This is part of from what I can tell, a larger move here in a lot of these home building and housing related stocks, as we do have yields push lower, as we had stocks push higher today. We talked about this earlier today. We had a bit of a move down for the DXY in yields as stocks were pushing upwards. Also, it's worth noting CNBC singled out LOW as one of a few different retail stocks that's worth noting as we head into the holiday season. Another stock that was singled out there is TGT, which is near days highs, up more than 5% here. We know this one had a bit of a tumble last week in reported earnings. Today getting its outperform rating reiterated by Oppenheimer and maintaining their $165 price target. So keep an eye on these retail names heading into the holiday season. And last but not least, DE. John Deere, they reported last week as well, last Thursday morning. They're up about 4% here, getting the price target increase from 401 to 450 from Morgan Stanley, which maintained its overweight rating. So bit of a little look where they are now for some of these earnings names from last week, guys.
John Deere, that monster stock, great stock, love them. I'm not in that one, but I love that stock. Can't tell you that Zena was able to hold. Remember I said it needed to break that 530? And when we got the initial dip, everything worked out. It held that $5 level. We jumped in at 505. It pushed into the high. We scalped out in front of the high. Now we're holding for the dream. And kept on going. I had my stop underneath prior low, but once we kept on getting to the 30s and they stacked it up, you start putting in lower highs, tightening it up and just getting out of dodge. 332. I'm just going to put the W on the ledger there. It did push, end up holding the 480, and now it's right back at 5. But I'm out of it. Let's see if it can push through that 530. For anyone that might still be in it, there's just a wall of profit takers. I'm going to assume profit takers. It could always be shorts as well. But every time it holds and gets into the 30s or breaks a big sell, someone just pops right back in on the offer at 32, 34, 35 on this one. So it's definitely limiting the amount of action that it can go to. I see your Nvidia is actually really going now.
I mean, I don't know about really going, but it's starting to catch a bit of a bid here, and you can see that reflected in the markets, but well within range of the sideways action we've been getting, right? So I'm like, all right, the bid, when does the bid actually really come in? Yeah, sure, we can see that 136 has been holding, so that's clearly where the bid on the day has been kind of the most dominant, and sellers being dominant in and around VWAP and making lower highs there. So I guess if we're going to continue doing what we've been doing across all day there, it would make sense that sellers would come in at a lower level than this 137.40 prior high right there, but we're pulling back into 137s after we've kind of did a bit of a reserve on top of that that level here and pushing back up into this 137 level here. So we talk about those reserves that showed up in 136 halves, trading a little bit higher, and also something I do want to point out is this trend resistance we were just mentioning right here. So I pull in this Nvidia. Oh boy. All right, there's a lot of lines on this one there, but we're trading below those, interestingly enough, and we're catching a bit of a sell. So this is what I'm looking at right here. This is the trend. This is the trend on the day. A bit of a VWAP reject, so that's kind of interesting as well. Clean reject of that VWAP going into the close. Let's see, sellers. I was telling Neil, I was like, well, sellers have been kind of in control all day, but this buyer here at that 136 has been pretty persistent. Holding Nvidia up a little bit here, a bit of a step. We talk about that kind of a step here off of those prior highs, off of earnings reaction as well. We hit a high of 152.89 there and failed to follow through. This was an absolute. I remember the tape on this as well. Oh boy, that's a lot of lines. But I remember the tape on this as well. Unfortunately, I didn't really record that day, but absolutely beautiful, beautiful tape here, Neil. I mean, it was so directional. It was so telling. Earnings day one on Nvidia. I think.
Oh my goodness!
I sent you the chart there.
It was amazing.
It was absolutely beautiful, very telling, and then I wasn't able to capture as much of the move that I kind of wanted, but that reversion, I guess, of this pre-market trend came in real nice, and then that was great. Back through 150, you could have had it at 151s as well. Strong reasons to sell up in above those 152s, and it gives you a full flush down into 140s. But since then, we've been trading a little bit lower. We talk about this strong consolidation hold there on Friday, and coming into today, we're trading well below that consolidation that happened for over 4 hours there. So that pre-market low break, oh boy, that's definitely a missed trade for me. Gotta write one down.
You gotta hit the oh boy button.
Oh boy, yeah, I don't have it on this on the stream deck just yet, but I will get on that very soon. But yeah, we're getting some continuation down. I'm curious to know if this 136 buyer is going to step out of the way coming into the end of the day today. But 137's trading as of right now with a bit of a push up through that 137. So if we break this trend, it could be interesting. But again, nothing too crazy. I think the direction on the day has been pretty clear.
You know what
right
is crazy?
off of the open. What is crazy?
What is crazy is this chart of SMCI as it just continues to go. Now 15, 16%, it's trending higher. And the reality is we're all trying to find opportunities out there and trade opportunities. And the idea is to find the best things that you can. What you need to do that is something like eSignal. Why? Because charts, as I always say, like it's your window to the markets. So whether you're scanning for trading setups with indicators, pretty much every tool is there and available for you in real time with eSignal. Whether you are putting up a quote board so that you can see things moving in the high of the day. HIMs breaking out the tops, that's what we added earlier. Or that move that we just saw over there in Zena, volume scanner to pick things up. Whatever tool you have available to you, eSignal is going to have. Then on top of that, you can take those trading opportunities and you can go and you can back test your strategies. Did they work in the past? Will they work in the future? Forward test them as well. Use that reliable data so that you can formulate a fantastic trading plan and you can grow as a trader. On top of that, remember, this is about reliability and data. All the data you can ask for in a reliable sense. You can do tick replay so you can see breakouts like the one Obi was talking about, Nvidia, that 150. So scan that QR code, check the link in the description. Take your charting and trading to another level with eSignal. The other thing we like to be able to show you guys here is the imbalance locator. Now, it's past 3:30, and I was going to preface the gigantic numbers you're seeing here. There's an MSCI rebalancing, right? So the MSCI is rebalancing its indexes. So you are going to see very large numbers in the imbalance locator today. It doesn't mean that every one of these stocks is going to do something absolutely insane, but there are going to be some bigger ones. It's not about where it comes out. I like to leave that up to give an idea. Like if NU's here for 6 million to sell or 6.7 million to sell, and it comes out at 5, that matters to me. If it early look was 6.7 to sell and it comes out 10, I want to note that. I'm not looking at it in a vacuum. There's a host. I'm not going to read them all off. Of interest, remember NE, nanonuclear, 4.7 to the sell side. GM, 3.2 to the sell side right now. Palantir is a 1.6 million to the buy side. Going to have some eyeballs on Palantir as well going into the close. Just some things that stand out early. I'd say those are the three, NE, GM, Palantir, I'll have eyeballs on. Palantir just went red again on the day. It's a weird one, man. Like this is one of those days. And I get it. I said this exact same thing with regards to Tesla, that yes, while Palantir was a great dip buy long off the open, that was it. And after that, it was a short, which I obviously didn't have because I was going dip buy long. So yeah, Palantir, good stock today. Buying the dip. Palantir, unfortunately, would have been a great stock if it was just a short the entire day. It is what it is. You've got to take the trades out in front of you. Sometimes the ability to take an idea that you like long and flip it, put the thing down, flip it and reverse it is the way to go. And there were multiple opportunities to do that in Palantir. Like I said, I'm not complaining about the day today, but it's very obvious that there were some spots that if you could have looked at the other direction, you would have had not just bigger winners, but more sustainable trades. Instead of being one and done on Palantir, because it never set up a long that I liked again, I could have been, if you were looking shorts, there were probably multiple shorting opportunities that I think you could have had in here on Palantir. So, that's what it's all about. Do want to shout out that with only 10 minutes to go, SMCI did, oh no, SMCI pulled back. I was going to say SMCI got to a fresh high, but it also just pulled back in there as well. So I thought this was still cruising. There's that little bit of a pullback, but it is still about 15% to the upside as it's trying to go. Strong name. I feel like it's still in the midst of a continuation long, so I want to look long almost every single day on that. Matt Carnes wants, or Matt C, I should say, thoughts on CULR. A penny stock. Yeah, that's done half of the volume's good. First look, volume good. 450 million on a penny stock. That's what I want to see. Second thing, it's above VWAP in the afternoon. It's not a day one play, although in some sense on this breakout, it's a day one play. The next stage for a stock like this to consolidate and breaks away, it's got to give you a consolidation. It's already failed adjacent to the $1 level. So to me, it's very close to the buck. So if I was looking for a long into $1, I don't like it above 75 to 80. Like I'd rather be playing longs at better prices. Maybe come back and look at this one tomorrow if it's going to do some big volume and hold that 50-cent mark. That could be worth looking. No way, Zena. We're going to go to, let's go back to Adera at the desk, but I just heard a note about Zena.
I got to get that one too.
Just going to keep an eye here on BB, which is making new day's highs here as we speak. Blackberry, this one's up about 10%. They do have a short float of about 4.65%. This is one that is well known around retail investors. We know some other retail favorites running earlier today, most notably HIMS or Hims and Hers Health. But BlackBerry also, interestingly enough, has not reported its earnings yet. So stay tuned, I guess, for December 19th after the bell. That's when they're speculated to report, guys.
Who knew?
That one's really filling up to the rim there. Like that? All right. So, yeah, no, that's pretty interesting chart. I didn't even know that was doing that there.
I remember back in the day when we'd have a BlackBerry story that would come up, and I'd be able to pull out my phone as a reference. But even
that's one of the first phones that I had, BlackBerry.
I feel like a lot of people. I was the
one with the little ball, the scroll ball on.
I was the most loyal BlackBerry. I'm pretty sure I was like the last person on the planet Earth to have one. I think I was. But for anyone, that Zena stock does make another fresh high, so it does get to 540. But look what happened. Those sellers came right back in the 30s, man. They just cannot seem to let it go past that 540 level. They continue to stop and stop and stop. We just got a super chat from our main man, Nimrod there. There we go. Nimrod, once again, thank you for the super chat. Looking at Garmin. My wife spends enough on Garmin watches. She used to run triathlon. Distance athletes are addicted to spending money on Garmin stuff because apparently they're the best. Whatever. Space company and main partner of SpaceX, crazy earnings. Are we talking about the same one? GRMN? GRMN. Yeah, that's the same one. GRMN. Anyways, let me just finish that as we go in. Crazy earnings tech with Trump's fetish for space and Elon. How about it? So let me pull up. I want to pull up a higher time frame for you there. So I'm going to pop my trade ideas in here and pull it up for you. Load. Now, I don't necessarily, like, here's the thing with Garmin. I am loath to chase moves like this. Like, I'm looking, like, you look at the weekly chart, forget about the daily for a quick little second. And all that good stuff I talked about there being, like, local, like, all kinds of follows for this. It's in another stage here since this breakout on the weekly. But on a weekly chart, like your entry, okay, the 50 period there, it closes this week above, maybe you're in that long. This is a tricky one because if I was swinging this, I don't know where I'm getting out. If I'm entering here, tight stop, 200, maybe, I guess. Prior high 175 makes more sense. That's where these longs are working off of, or maybe the 150 where you'd be taking these breaks. I don't know where you work the risk on this thing. So maybe you got to ask Joe about this one on options because it's a little bit far and away for me, and fundamentally I can't give you anything good about them. But look, it's obviously a crazy runner, no question about it. It's just tricky up here. Like it's on a day trade, I would suppose you could look at that. Let's just double click to get rid of that. I suppose on a day trade, what you could be looking at you could have been looking at today, I should say, that's the best way to put it, is just to play like the obvious like trend. It's now got a nice little bull flag set up, and then you throw it up on like a 15-minute, you break that out tomorrow, maybe you get like a consolidation like this, and then a break away from that consolidation. I suppose as a day trade, there could be that tomorrow. But yeah, I think watch out. Like its primary listing, I'm pretty sure, is in Europe. So you got to watch out for the European close and things like that too. So there's a lot going on that I wouldn't be chasing it in. But yeah, 5 minutes till the imbalances. As I've warned everybody, there's going to be some really large imbalances on the locator today.
Yeah.
NU's now 8 million. Merck is a 4 million early sell. You still have NEE at 3.5. I no longer see Palantir, so that must have paired off. So the idea that Palantir was going to be a big one is probably gone, unfortunately. But there's plenty of opportunities. Like there might be a couple of these that are gigantic that might be trading opportunities. We'll see. You never really know until you hit 350, but only 4 minutes to go. We're expecting some fireworks here. There is an MSCI rebalancing. That's the reason for these big imbalances here.
Yeah, definitely going to be watching out for some outlier imbalances coming into the close. That's for sure. But yeah, no, that Nvidia trade didn't really work out. Came right into that level right here. So when I see it, so I already had an order kind of posted above that 137 to get some out. It should probably have a little bit more than that, as it is doing more of what it has been doing, right? So it's basically respected that trend, came back in. So I pieced out on the way back in, being like, all right, well, it didn't really go through. I was looking for a push back through, but it did more of the same. So I'm perfectly okay with kind of pretty much breaking even on it, or yeah, pretty much breaking even on it, and because it didn't really do what I was looking for, and moving on to the next trade. But yeah, with only about 4 minutes left for these imbalances to show up, should be interesting. Should be interesting to see what shows up coming into the close today. But yeah, let us know what you guys have been trading all day. We know that markets have been pretty, I guess, opportune. We've been giving a lot of opportunities, some big trades. I've seen so many trade reviews on MSTR last week. Absolutely crazy, some of the numbers people are putting up in this market. And honestly, it's very, very inspirational in terms of the possibilities of some of the moves you can potentially capture if you've seen them over and over again. And MSTR is definitely one to study, one for the books there prior day. And again, a lot of that action happening in the options as well as the equities there on MSTR, and a lot of ETFs were traded. A lot of MSTR ETFs were traded as well, and you can imagine how again, more options on those as well. So you can imagine how that kind of a market was last week on MSTR, as it did that first little pullback. Wasn't really little, but first pullback there.
Little.
first little pullback. You know, did some decent dollar volume there as well.
Enough.
I think I saw a chart somewhere being like, okay, in terms of dollar volume, it did, yeah, definitely, oh boy, it did significantly more than, I guess, almost as much as GME or something like that. I gotta go back and look at, yeah, at that 500 test on GME, but yeah, could be interesting.
I'm expecting some interesting moves on MSTR in a little bit, but I wanted, before we get the imbalances coming out, I wanted to get to the super chat from Calor Shannon here in the chat. Thoughts on Netflix? Appreciate you. Shout out to you. Thank you for the super chat there. I think you're just maybe a reasonable pullback. You can see the upward trend that it's in on the daily trade. It definitely extended itself a little bit from the last consolidation break. And this is what, the second red day, that pullback day that we're having in the last couple of weeks here. You get yet a minor one back here on the 8th, but really it's a strong, I think, just like a technical pullback off a 900 fail. You know, so you're having some bleed overall in some of the bigger, higher flying names, right? Like you had a rotation certainly to some small cap names, and well, that's going to mean some of the better performing bigger cap names are going to pull out. So it looks like a bit of a technical fail here where you're just trending down and some profit taking. So it needs to calm down. The last time it did a pullback, it didn't waste any time and rounded back up. I'm not so convinced that would be the case here. In a general sense, I think maybe you got to see it settle down for a day or two. It's a holiday shortened week, so this could be a comeback and see if it can resume trend next week. I have no idea how it's going to play out tomorrow, but I'd be looking at that 840 level to see if that could hold. I like Netflix. To me, it's a buy and hold in the long term. I don't really day trade it. At some point, they got to split, so it'll be a little bit better. Yeah, barely breaking trend line on Rivian Millionaire just pointed out. It depends on where you want to draw the trend line from. I mean, when we draw trend lines, like you can, if you draw this trend line, like remember it broke this trend and then immediately formed a new one. And then if you draw this trend in here, oh, that's terrible. I didn't even start in the right spot. And then if you draw a trend from there, like a tight one, yeah, it's breaking it. But in the general sense, any line of best fit, I think you're finding from here to here, you're going to have a bit of support still there for Netflix. Just let it calm down a little bit. With a 350 just hit, I said there'd be big ones. Apple, 12 million to buy on Apple. NU comes out 9.7 million to the buy side. Rivian 4.5 million buy. Nvidia 4.3 million sell. 4.3 million sell on Nvidia. You've got GM with a sell of 3.5 million shares. But I mean, Nvidia, I know you're out of that one. 4.3 million sell on Nvidia, it barely even moved. Remember, we're expecting some fireworks on the imbalances. Apple absolutely flying though on that buy imbalance. Holy crap. 12 million to buy on Apple, that really went. $2 now, just absolutely flying. Palantir, I was expecting we'd see some fireworks on that bad boy, but it looks like it's Apple, which is really doing the damage in here. Massive, massive buy imbalance on Apple. Man, there's no chance I'm chasing this. This is one of those trades. If you're not in it early, forget about it. Like maybe let it pull back. At 355, I expect a lot of these to pair off. Another one, Palantir caught a little bit of a bid. I saw it on the locator earlier. I don't really see it anymore. I guess it's not that big. Rivian was the other big buy at 4.5 million shares to the buy side on Rivian. That one looking pretty solid as well. But Apple, Nvidia sell, Rivian buy, that just bounced off of VWAP. Nothing terribly crazy. No. You're tearing me apart, Zena. Hey, congratulations to everyone that held on to that. They looked like such strong hands, but they were made of paper.
Oh boy.
Yeah, never-ending story. Fabian got that bad boy right there. Hey, I can make fun of myself. Why not? They looked like such strong hands. The never-ending stories are very traumatizing. I've watched that so many times. When I was a kid, that was a very, very sad movie. But it's a good movie. And Zena is a great stock for everyone out there that held on to that long. Congratulations, everybody. $6 does come into play. It does make the breakout, so you got what you were looking for. Yeah, well, I would have been out at 550 anyway, so what difference does it make? I would have been out at 550. Like, I'm not, like, at this point, like, I'm probably taking it out on that first initial push because it's so late in the day and we got to get out of them. I know we'll go back. I don't want to lose sight of the imbalances here for everybody. Apple's still 9 million to the buy side, 9.5 million, check that to the buy side, and my goodness, it's still going. Yeah, Apple's on one. That is not going anywhere. Ari Pages, we should have reminded you to hydrate. Yeah, you should have reminded me to hydrate. My voice is dying today. We'll be okay for the aftermarket show. We got Michael Noss, we got Adera, we got myself, as well as Apple continues to crank to the upside. I don't know if Neverending Story is the best movie of all time, but it's certainly up there. Shout out to everyone in the chat that got that one. So yeah, Rivian not doing much. It's Apple that's really the story. Nvidia, I'd say that's a nothing burger. But Tesla, uh-oh. I don't even see Tesla on here, but Tesla's losing it. Was that a sell imbalance? I didn't see Tesla here. What is going on with Tesla? Tesla just falling for reasons unknown. So no big imbalance on Tesla, and it is cranking to the, what's going on, Tesla? Why are you falling? There's no news story here that I'm aware of. There's no imbalance on Tesla. I guess it's the weak get weaker. Unfortunately for Tesla, down 3 points today and continuing to flush. Yeah, that's going to stink. That was catching a bit off 345, but just trend down all day. This is one of those, it's one of those days. I've said it a couple times here today. Whether you're up, down, if you had a good day today, like I'm happy. I almost no LFT on the day, pretty much closed it at our highest point. But it would have been better if a couple of good longs were just short trades instead, because then you would have had some bigger winners down there. Yeah, Tesla is definitely Stressla today, Juan Padilla. But it's not Stressla on Apple. The last time there was a big imbalance on Apple and it ran like this, I remember it rinsing people at 355. I'm not saying it's going to pair off at 355, but I remember what happened. And like there was, if you chased it into the 55, it ended up pairing off rather quickly with only about 10 seconds until we get that possible pairing event. Worth looking at this Apple here and just be very patient, be very cautious with this. Like I wouldn't be piling in. If you get a big pair off, this could drop rather quickly. And you're right at that time when it could happen. So there is 355 hitting. It just paired right down to 3.2. So it went from 9 million to 3.2 million to the buy side. Is this really going to... Wow, it's actually held a little bit better than I would have expected. Only pairing off about 40 or 50 cents right now on Apple. Sebastian saying, why am I not in Rivian? A, I got to get up to the desk. B, it's not doing a lot. Like you do have that buy imbalance, although at 355 it's paired off as well. That the only thing that stayed, I mean, Apple paired, but it kind of stayed, NU stayed at 9 million to the buy side. So at least that's relatively interesting. NU is probably the one, and you can see that's actually, I just pulled that up. See, NU stays, and that's the one. If you're going to take something, it should have been NU. Why did I even have, I have a trend line on this there. I don't even want to look into why, because that would have been a good entry. But NU is the one that's going to end up going in here. So it looks pretty nasty on Tesla, golden on Apple, golden on NU. There's some names moving a little bit higher on these imbalances, as we said. Like, where else are you going to see them live, everybody? We'll show them to you. Remember I said Apple's very likely to pair off at 355? Now down to 2.5 million on Apple. That is very likely going to pair the entire thing off by the time we get to the close. It's holding the highs, but again, I wouldn't be chasing this. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Yes, it is at $7.30. Because of course, Zena, the Warrior stock, is up 300%.
Congratulations!
Somebody up in here got to be long this stock. And no one ever went broke taking profits. Just going to leave it. Nobody ever went broke taking profit. Obviously, it's up 300%. You've just seen it consolidate a breakout. There were a bunch of sellers at 530. Once it broke away from those, that was a real break. Sometimes it's not about the break that you want, $5, the even dollar level. It's about a break of bigger sellers. And we saw that wave of selling at 530. You could see it the whole way. It's what got me out of the stock, really. But when it breaks away from that kind of a level, sometimes it's more significant than just a random even dollar. Like $5 is a great number, but the 530, 540 area here was a bigger breakaway. And that's what the price action was telling. We can all learn from that. I've obviously learned never to doubt Zena, apparently. Greatest stock of all time. No, not really. Apparently this one's going to QUBT. Just having a scan. I see you guys put some names in there in the chat that I want to go over. I'm going to mosey onto the desk a little bit closer to after 4 o'clock. Give some of these a chance to matriculate, because I'm kind of curious. Like, Apple's paired almost the entire way here. Like, I don't even see Apple on the imbalance locator anymore, and it's still holding the highs, which is a bit surprising to me that you'd still be holding on to some of these highs here, despite the fact that the buy imbalance is now gone on Apple. So why is it still holding that top? I'd expect to see some profit taking on this. I'm not going to take any trades. I'm going to have to get up to the desk right quick after 4 o'clock or once the bell hits. But certainly this is the one that ran. It was a bigger mover. You did have some action on Rivian. If you got it right away, that was about it. Like Rivian, there was your play right at 350. It was a pretty decent sized buy and balance. Gave you 15, 20 cents if you're really quick like an algo. But unless you are that algo, what are you going to do? The story this afternoon has got to be this Apple buy and balance out of nowhere. And then Zena. You just got to hope that you had Zena. Tesla also pumping to the downside, unfortunately, was not the greatest. That kind of stunk. Oh, no, Zena, don't rinse people. Remember what I just said? No one ever went broke taking profits, everybody. I was hoping we'd be above that $7 still for everybody. But Zena looking like it's giving it up here. Only 1 minute to go. We have less than 1 minute to the bell, so be careful, everybody. The boys in the back are starting to yell about randomness over here.
Oh, boy.
As they're going nuts. Zena pulling back.
Absolutely wild,
Apple still trying to go. Let's see where these bad boys can go with less than 1 minute, Obi. Looks like it's going to be a wobble. You're locked and loaded, ready to go?
God, locked and loaded, ready to go.
I got to get myself up to the desk
Take
in
it
here,
easy.
so I'll take it
Have a
into the
good one,
desk.
man.
We'll see you in the
All
aftermarket
right,
recap.
so yeah, sorry about that. Just had to kind of check out some potential trades there. We can see the market kind of pushing up into the close here, both the ES and the NQ. So surprisingly enough, the ES holds that 6,000 mark going into the close. So solid start to the week here. Nvidia making some fresh lows right here again, 135.80s coming in. So some selling coming in on one of the market leaders aggressively as we push into the close with only about 4 seconds. 3, 2, and 1. Thank you, Adera. Let's go. So, all right. So we got, I guess, another day, another potential opportunity. We see lots of good opportunities on the day today. In the morning session, midday to end of day, we pretty much consolidated sideways. Didn't really get anywhere too far there. So. Something to watch out, something to consider going on into the end of the week there. It is it is kind of a shortened week. It's Thanksgiving week here in the market, so maybe not as much volatility, maybe not as much volume as we would like, but some strong moves nonetheless. We saw sellers come in aggressively in the morning session, and it seems like they were in charge for pretty much the rest of the day here. So just got to check if they're ready for us at the desk, and as soon as Neil and Adera are ready, I will pass it over. So hopefully you guys had a solid trading day, and yeah, let us know what things you have been trading. I know a lot of people have been involved in Bitcoin and MSTR, especially Amara, Riot have been doing some things. So crypto has been, I guess, the 100K level, right? So everyone was anticipating that 100K level, and Bitcoin didn't really quite get there. So let's take a quick look at BTC USD here on Coinbase and see how that ended off on the day today. So so we had that high in and around. So that high actually was 99,860 right there. So we didn't quite get to that 100K mark, but as of right now here on Coinbase Exchange, the high is 99,860, and we did pull back into this 95. And something I do want to point out here, going up to a higher time frame chart here on the 3-hour push.
Let's go, Obi! Let's go, Obi! On the show!
Let's go. The trade is the trade. The trade is the trade, guys. I haven't even looked at my blotter yet, but we'll see. No, interesting action here on BTC. You can see that that trend that's been holding quite nicely off of 85. We saw that pullback earlier, mid to November, and we've been holding that trend since then, and we're coming back into some of those levels. So interestingly enough, let's see if we catch a bit of a bid here, and I think we are good at the big desk. So I will see you guys on Wednesday, hopefully, if you guys are still there. But without any further ado, Neil and Adera are at the big desk for your market recap. Take it easy, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you very much, Obi. We're gonna get Zoom here pretty quickly in a couple of minutes. So we're in the market recap. Obviously, a lot going on here. Right at that close, you saw it was MSCI rebalancing, so with a lot of massive moves right in there at the close. First and foremost, you did see that big move up there in Apple to end the day. Apple ramping $3 from 230 to 233 on a massive buy imbalance there. Most of this holiday week. Holiday shortened week was very, very quiet. The overall market didn't give us a heck of a lot of juice. When you look at the Qs, it was a flat day, but that does not tell you the truth here, Adera. I mean, it was trend down after an early morning push. You had Nvidia, which bled down most of the day. You had Tesla, which bled down most of the day. On a day where the markets didn't give you much, it was small caps running, mid caps running. It was a very fantastic day for those. I'm going to give a big shout out to Rivian, because Rivian, Randy's been telling us to buy it, 13% here. You had Rivian go. You had the quantum tickers were all going to the upside. So whether it's QMCO, that Rigetti stock as well. Every time I think of Rigetti, I think of the pitcher for the Yankees back in the 80s. But also Kodak was a runner. And of course, as all of you know, Zena, the Warrior stock, which got to $7 at the end of the day. So it was very much a day where you saw in the afternoon trading things like HIMS and Zena. It's where you had to be.
Yeah.
If you wanted to make money today, outside of being short the bigger cap tech names, some early longs, you really had to have some of those small cappers there, Adera. Wow, there were a million of them. Just seemed like they kept on going.
Yeah, the excitement is not just in mega caps. It's a lot of like heavily shorted names, right? Even Sava, which was a bit of a shout out to Obi for that trade off the open, but that one was a bit of a loser in terms of what happened. You know, of course, it's very unfortunate with the Alzheimer's story, but that one, that's a 43% short float. That got a nice bounce there off the bottom. I think it got as high as above $5 at one point. So SAVA had its little move earlier in the day. And then what else did we have here as well? There was SAVA as well. Macy's in the morning too with the catalyst. So there were lots of little movers here, lots of short float names. There just wasn't a lot in the mega cap world. Though that story with Tesla was pretty interesting. The stock didn't react much right away. But earlier in the day, we did have Gavin Newsom, the California governor, basically saying, we're looking at doing a California EV credit if the Trump administration gets rid of the overall EV credit. Then Bloomberg reporting a couple hours later that Tesla is not likely to benefit from this plan. And, you know, there's a little bit of a beef there with
Zoom might
with
be
Elon.
out here.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm looking for this. I haven't seen anything yet. Hasn't popped up for me. But I believe I will interrupt myself if I see anything, guys.
Yeah, it looks like there's some movement already here in Zoom. You're going to see it pop from like 89 down to 86. I have not heard anything on the earnings yet, so Adera will have it to us. But clearly some price action to the downside on volume. You have Zoom down, now continuing to accelerate, now $82 down. Just dropped about another 8%, another couple of bucks here, so about 8% from the close as Zoom is heading lower. Not looking that good here for, I mean, they're the big earnings name reporting tonight for sure. Zoom, you have a couple of other ones that should be coming out like FLNC, some smaller names reporting, but certainly Zoom is the headliner and it is not looking very good. Now keep in mind, Zoom follows the trend of names where, hey, if you're already at the top, it's a little bit difficult. So it already busted through some highs. And unfortunately, sometimes when that's the case, you need to be perfect, and it does not look like it's perfect down here. We were expecting a 10% move on Zoom. So the fact that it was essentially under 90, initial bounce right off of 81 bucks, I mean, that's, wow. Okay, I mean, give me a break. That's exactly that 10% move. It bounces right off that 81 as it tries to head higher here. So Zoom catching a bid right back, now up at, it just went for a split second. Zoom was back above 89 bucks and looking like it wanted to go green. So Zoom, what a reversal, almost positive. That expected move holds on like a champion there at $81 for Zoom. Decent, it's like a 3.5% short flow, 2.5 days to cover. But really, I think it was just priced to perfection here. Do we have the numbers on it?
Yeah, they actually beat here. So adjusted earnings of $1.38 per share compared to $1.31 expected. Sales of $1.18 billion versus $1.16 billion expected there. They did have a 3.6% year-over-year increase in revenue. Enterprise revenue up here apparently by 5.8% here. So not a bad report by any means. It's one worth noting here. GAAP income from operations here looks like it's slightly up year-over-year, 182.8 million versus 169.4 million. It's hard to find here, just reading through this report, any areas where they've dropped on a year-over-year basis or they had a decisive miss. But like I said, it populated for me a little bit later. I also have Agilent out as well, and they did beat for earnings per share and sales. Agilent here, so that's the ticker A. They had earnings of $1.46 per share versus $1.41 expected. That would be a beat. And then sales of $1.7 billion versus $1.672 billion expected. If I see anything else on that Zoom report, I'll let you know. I'm still reading through the whole thing, but I'm not seeing their guidance get out here either on my end anyway.
Yeah, Agilent making moves down, but catching a bid just like Zoom did. But let's be real, not a huge move. I don't think we're expecting too much out of what's crazy about Agilent is the implied move was actually 8%. The previous move, you look it up, nothing. So last quarter, Agilent literally had 0.2% was the move. So to see nothing happen, I don't think is a surprise there. Zoom is back down around 85. Looking like it's pulling back a little bit here. I do want to check out SMTC, Semtech Corporation. Isn't Semtech like an explosive like the IRA used to use? Yeah, it's
that's
like
what I thought. Yeah.
The IRA used to use that a lot, Semtech. That's a weird, is that what these guys do? Anyways, I'm thinking out loud here. It doesn't really matter. Semtech up 7%. They also report at 4. We're supposed to get them at 4:15. We're expecting them a little bit later. So they're an implied move of 18%.
I have Zoom guidance.
Oh, we have the guidance on Zoom. Let's get back over to Zoom. The guidance is out. Please tell me it's not this bad.
Yeah, they actually, so their Q4 earnings per share guidance above estimates. They're guiding $1.29 to $1.30. Analysts were looking for $1.28. So they just squeaked by there on guidance. Revenue, though, also a slight beat, $1.175 billion to $1.18 billion for Q4 versus $1.17 billion expected. So to be clear, they have beat by a hair so far for their Q4 revenue and EPS guidance. Fiscal 2025 EPS guidance also is going to be a beat. So 541 to 543 versus 535 expected. Revenue guidance also a beat, 4.656 billion to 4.661 billion versus 4.64 billion expected. So to be clear, it seems like they beat on every major metric, including all aspects of their guidance. I mean, both ends of the guidance range. So this is really interesting. I combed through the report. It's a lot of fine print. There's not a lot of actual numbers here. So I'm going to keep looking to see if there's anything else here. But
there's some bounce here.
Pretty interesting. Yeah.
It's got a little pep in its step all of a sudden. It's not exactly zooming to the upside. Crickets. No, it wasn't funny. No. You don't have to laugh. It wasn't funny at all. Sometimes it just has to be said. And I was waiting for it to catch any kind of a bid or have at least good guidance so I could give that line, but it's not going crazy. You're just holding the 85 level. What's interesting here, and I think when we look at this tomorrow morning, and we'll come back, is note the 84 level on Zoom, right? Like, the 81 bounce, that's a 10% implied move. It catches the bounce off that move, off that level. Oh. But now the 84 level has clear support here that's forming on this 1 minute chart. So we'll look at that level tomorrow for sure.
Sorry to interrupt. We just had Zoom actually authorizing a buyback as well. So they authorized the repurchase of an additional $1.2 billion here of outstanding Class A stock. The authorization is in addition to the amount remaining under their current authorization or their prior. They did mention as well in their report that they did do some buying back over the previous quarter. So now there's going to be a total between the new buyback and the old buyback, roughly $2 billion remaining to be repurchased. So $2 billion worth of buybacks, more or less, apparently in our future for ZM.
That is not chump change. I mean, it's like I always say, every now and then, whether it's a good report or a bad report, it doesn't hurt if you sprinkle a little buyback on there. That's always a good thing in the market. Very true. That's what you want to see happen. So remember, you watch out for when you have a buyback for a stock. If you see it in an upward trend, sometimes that can be the reason. In that final 10 minutes of the day, these companies are not allowed to buy back their own stock. So you got to watch out when one of these names that has a buyback on, if that ends up being a catalyst for it, in that last 10 minutes of any session. Sometimes if it's trending up, you want to look to take your profits. It's just worth looking there. It's now holding 86, so looking pretty good there on Zoom. Oh yes, he is locked and loaded and ready. What? No? We're not ready yet? Okay, well, we're going to have Michael on in a couple minutes here. I heard Fabian there, I got excited. We're going to have Michael Noss to join us for Trader Talk. Oh, they like the buyback. But before we get to Michael, you sprinkle some buyback on it and you go green, baby. That's what it's all about. Now we're zooming to the upside through $90. Ooh. That's all it took. Yeah. They didn't care about the beat. They didn't care about the guidance. What they cared about is sprinkling some buyback on it, it's like hot sauce on plain rice. You could have the best, or fried rice. You have the best fried rice in the world. Cook-up rice, whatever it happens to be. I'm West Indian. I like cook-up rice. But sometimes you need that hot sauce on it, and that's what the buyback was here. But as I said, we are locked and loaded and ready for our main man and guest this afternoon. The NOS boss is in the house, and I don't have my button for Trader Talk, or I would hit it right about now. There he is, Michael Noss, our good friend from Trade Ideas. Shout out to you, and good talking to you this morning. I hope today was a good day looking at the markets, but really, it was all about these small cap runners. You talked about it this morning. You talked about the rotation, and I stole your quote. I think I gave you credit for it, actually. That rotation is the lifeblood of a bull market. Hopefully I got that right. I think that played out today.
Yeah, we have to give that to Ralph Alcambora, right? Because he created the godfather of technical analysis. But yeah, it's exactly what we're seeing is more rotation and more rotation. The most interesting chart to me this morning was looking at the SPY versus the RSP. So the SP 500, anyone who's listened to me for any length of time already knows this, but for those who don't, the SP 500 is cap weighted, means that Nvidia, Netflix, Amazon, all the big guys are going to have a much bigger weighting than in the RSP, which is the same 500 names, but it is equal weighted. And the stark difference between the two charts is pretty huge, right? We have the SPY was up about 0.5%, and was really went red for a second there at one point, and RSP gapped up and held the gap. And this is just showing us that people are moving a little bit away from the big tech names, and they're moving a little bit more into kind of everything else, which for us that likes to trade a whole bunch of different stocks and not just Nvidia all the time, ends up being a much funner market anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that again. Like this is, and what makes it fun is you'll have a bunch of names that which I think are going to give you sometimes bigger percentage moves that start going. I think, like I have nothing, like Tesla's an amazing stock, but when you have a Rivian start to go and give some clean breakout setups on a Rivian, and it goes 12% at one point, 15%, well, the number of times Tesla's going to do that, it might do it every now and then. Rivian's the kind of stock that can do that. If it gets in a mood, it can do that a couple times a week, where you're not going to see Tesla put in multiple double-digit names. One of the things that I saw, and I have to bring this up because we've been talking about bottoms on things in rotation. There was actually a bid on the solar names. I want to ask about, we'll talk about some crypto stuff, but there was an actual bid today on the solar names. And I guarantee you that, Michael, there's got to be some people that are excited for this to make a bottom. Now, personally, I don't think it's time yet because we've been saying rounded bottom. Is this going to get on your radar soon? It's had a couple of updates like this, but I feel like this is still nowhere close to breaking that trend whatsoever to the downside. We got a lot of questions about it during the day, and I was like, not yet.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same, and it's got some work to do. So I have a weekly chart of solar up, and this is kind of the area I've been watching for some time. Is this prior high at about $40, and we spent a lot of time hanging out there, and now we're below it. So for me to take a trade on this, it would have to be, looking for a bear trap or a scoop and score, whatever you want to call it, where you have an undercut of a very important level, which I think this $40 on TAN is, and we need to see that regained pretty quickly. So we need a nice strong move up, ideally a weekly close or maybe two above $40. Then maybe it could be back in play. So I think this thing has fallen so much that we don't have to be super early to try to catch a bottom here. We can let that hold for a while and just prove to us that there's some amount of buying that's taking place here and not just short covering rallies. Because I think what's happening every time this thing is dropping, the people who've been short have been making more and more money, and they have to, they're buying it, and that's creating these little short pops. I want to see, again, a sustained move over this line that I've drawn, which is about $40 a share, in order to get very excited about solar.
Yeah, I tend to be with you there, and I'm glad you can bring your technical. I say actual technical analysis. I mean, like you're the CMT, not myself. Like I'm sloppy with trend lines, but I think on a day trading basis, sometimes we can get away with looking at things that are strong. Because don't get me wrong, if you were playing some longs today as a day trader in TAN, that's a very different story than talking about swinging. So like while I couldn't really argue with people that were long TAN today, I think you can make the argument that patience is a virtue. Now, volatility is everybody's friend. The volatility on MicroStrategy, and the crypto story is what it is, but the volatility on MicroStrategy is still unabated, and it's trying to catch bids. There's still some like very heavy selling throughout the day. What's your take over here? Because I know you talked a lot about the altcoins and whatnot, and we've talked about the move in Bitcoin, but this is a tricky one. Because on one end, you've got the short selling report, you've got the massive pullback, but on the other side of it, you've got some longs that are very deep in the money on this stock that I don't think are spooked yet because they're long in the hundreds and they're long in the 160s and they're long in the 200 range. And to a lot, it's not going to seem that scary yet. as a day trader, it's not a difficult approach, but how do you deal with something like MSTR at these prices?
It's 100% going to be Bitcoin related, right? I don't care what they write about short reports or whatever. No one cares about this company or what this company does. I remember a bunch of traders, we were at an event, we were drinking beers, and I tried to ask people what MicroStrategy does. Nobody has any idea. It's just a Bitcoin, it's a leveraged Bitcoin vehicle. You can think about this as a 2x or a 3x Bitcoin chart. So the way I look at it is in this kind of scenario, you completely shut off the fundamentals. You understand that this is going to move with some extreme beta to Bitcoin. You could have up 20% or down 20% moves on this. If we get some sort of Bitcoin collapse, it would not shock me for this to be cut in half or a third. But I just think right now where we are, if you look at this chart, and then if I just go bring up Bitcoin, it's going to be, the same chart like that. Where we have, right, we got very close to 100,000, and now we're just pulling off and we're consolidating sideways. So the way I look at it is that if this turns, makes another run at 100,000, then Bitcoin or MicroStrategy is going to move. Anyone who shorted it on that short report is going to get blown out, and you're going to get that leverage to the upside. If Bitcoin starts to fall apart, then I think you're going to have a lot of people pile on this position because of that short report, and you're going to get that leverage to the downside. So it's really just a leverage play on Bitcoin at this point. My one worry is that Bitcoin trades all the time, right? MSTR only trades 5 days a week for 6.5 hours. So my worry holding this one, as someone who does still hold a little bit of it from an algorithm that I have, is that something's going to happen on Saturday or Sunday or overnight or something, and I'm going to have a big gap in the favor. So if you're trading this, you're sizing accordingly because you have that leverage in both directions.
Yeah, I think that's very important. Adera's got a question from the chat that I want to throw to you in a quick little second, but I want to remind everybody, Zoom here, after they announced the buyback, did go green. It is back underneath $90 and back down at $88 here. So it did make that big push above 90 after they announced the buyback. It's still holding underneath. And then Semtech actually doing quite well. SMTC is going to end up consolidating above the 58 level. So Semtech still looking pretty good. Zoom giving a little bit back. But Adera, you had a question from the chat from Michael.
Yeah, thank you, Michael, for being here with us. Someone in the chat here, RG Chiriath, I apologize if I said your name wrong, wanting to know your thoughts here on BTCT. That was that runner from, I think, a few weeks ago now. Sean had that one as it made that nice push to the upside. So I guess, what are your thoughts on the BTCT, Michael?
BCTC.
BTCT.
That's
Bit
not
digital.
coming up for me.
BTCT, I think it is.
Yeah.
BTCT.
Yeah, BTCT.
Oh yes, So my caveat is going to be that, right, this is China, so you have to be obviously careful when it comes to any of these, especially these education shares. I think we all remember what happened. Was it EDU and TAL that got cut in half? It's consolidating nicely. It's something that you have to understand that this, you could wake up tomorrow and it could be $5, and you could wake up tomorrow and it could be $30. But with all that out of the way, I think it just needs a little bit more time. As long as it can hold this prior low right here at about $12, I think it's okay. But I would like to see this build a little bit more of the base, just because quite often when you get these from $2 to 26, and then you generally get some sort of revision back. So if that doesn't happen, if we hold and get another leg higher, that's interesting to me. But I think you have time to wait on this one. Again, just because of the volatile action, I want to see the little bit of volatility drained out of this name before it could continue higher.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point there, Michael. And obviously, everyone wants to get these things on the way up, but then sometimes you look at it and say, hey, well, it went from $5 to $25. Oh my goodness, I have a chance. It's going to go back to $25. I got to get back into it. And it's the right thing to do sometimes to wait for it. And you can get some, like we've seen, you can get some runners with a little bit less risk, I think, than trading in some of these Chinese names. What's interesting for me about this tomorrow is it's down 10%. It's probably going to have a bunch of short sell restricted days as a day trader, because it will move 10% quite often. Sometimes it gives it more juice, but even then, there's so many other names out there to look at. Are there any? So I know we've gone over a few things here. I know we have a few minutes to go in here, Michael, but I was just kind of curious if there's anything that we didn't get a chance to cover that you are looking at you've been talking specifically, this morning about some altcoins, which I think is a bit of a different look than what we've usually discussed in the past. Like, I will be the first person to admit I am a Bitcoin. In my crypto, I'm holding mostly Bitcoin in general, a little bit of Solana, a little bit of ETH. But the altcoins I've stayed away from. But as a trading vehicle, you've been looking at them, a few with some appeal. Are you still, after today's action, kind of a nothing burger on Bitcoin? Is anything changing there?
Yeah, if anything, I'm more excited for some of these altcoins, and the reason for it is just this chart I have up. So this is Ethereum over Bitcoin. So it's Ethereum priced in Bitcoin. Long story short, just a simple way to put it: if this line is pointing down, which it is most of the time, it means that Bitcoin is outperforming Ethereum. Bitcoin is doing better as an investment than Ethereum. If this line is pointing up, it means that Ethereum is starting to catch up and take over. And if we just zoom in for just the last couple of days, I did a line chart just to make it a little easier to read. You can see that that's actually starting to change. We're starting to get Bitcoin moving up. We're getting Bitcoin's down 3.33% today, and Ethereum is up 3.33%. So what may be happening here, just speculation, is that we talked about this, I think last time I was on, that I was selling my Bitcoin before 100,000 because everyone in the world was waiting for 100,000. And that seems to be what's happening. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy of everyone saying Bitcoin 100,000. So then a bunch of people put some orders out there to front run it. And those people who are making money in the crypto space, it's a little bit different because depending on your country and state, I'm not a tax expert and all those caveats, that if you don't turn that into cash, sometimes it's not a taxable event. So if I take my Bitcoin and I just convert that into Ethereum, or I convert that into Chill Guy or Fartcoin or whatever is the thing, Pepe, whatever is the thing du jour, there's a lot of, I think it's an actual coin. There's some that I can't even say. And that can be a thing that's occurring. And I think that's kind of the rotation that we see in the equity market that's happening here as well. So just to summarize what I was talking about this morning on the show, just a basic thing that I've been doing is anchoring VWAPs to all-time highs on these coins. And when it gets back through there, a lot of these have made really good moves. So here's Solana. Here is Dogecoin anchoring through all-time high. You can see these things are just saying that when the average market participant is now making money, you start to get these animal spirits behind them. So one trade I did recently, this isn't an all-time high, but it's a major high on Mana, which is fake real estate. I was talking about Sharif last week with it. I bought a little bit at 44 and it just ripped to 80 cents. And I don't know anything about these coins. These are very speculative trading type vehicles, but they're very, very active. So if we're going to continue to get this rotation from Bitcoin into these kind of junkier coins, the same way we're seeing rotation from the Magnificent Seven into kind of junkier small cap names, then I'm going to follow that trend until it breaks. But just like all the caveats I put this morning, these are not coins that I'm planning on holding forever. I have stop losses in places. They're just trades to make. They're trading vehicles with some volatility that seem to have this repeated pattern of break the anchored VWAP and move. So as long as that's going to work for me, I'm going to start playing with it.
Yeah, great looking trades, great looking ideas there as well. Before we get you out of here, we did get a super chat here, Michael. It's addressed to you. So thank you, Rohit, for the super chat. Michael, I'm assuming you might have meant here something different. Good time to go with IWM is what I think you meant there. All-time high. So good time to go with IWM at all-time highs. Obviously, the Russell having a pretty solid day here today. So thoughts on IWM, Michael?
Yeah, IWM is. I don't like to trade the actual ticker itself, and the reason for that is that they intentionally kick out their best players. If you are a great company and you do well, then you are going to move to the mid caps, which is MDY, which is also making all-time highs. And then if you do even better, you're going to get kicked into the large caps, the SPY. So I think it's more of a a thing to do analysis on than anything else. So yes, you could trade the IWM. There's TZA and TNA, which are leveraged versions of it for maybe quick moves. For long-term holds, what I would rather do myself personally is look under the hood of the IWM, find the names that are the strongest, maybe on the verge to getting moved to mid caps or something like that, or just names that I like the setup better, but kind of using these move to all-time highs on IWM as a hunting ground, saying, okay, I can now, back when we were trapped under this line right here, I couldn't really hunt too much in the small cap space. I had to go looking at the large cap space. Now that we are above that, I can start to look around in the small cap space. So, you know, the index, again, it has this problem of if you do really well, you get kicked out. But I think it's just telling us that this is now a stock pickers market again, and we can kind of play around and see what's going on.
Yeah, great answer. And thank you. I love that we can put you on the spot there, and viewers certainly appreciate the answer. You're getting some love in the chat, as you always do for that. So, you know, best of luck with all of those altcoins. I know maybe you buy a little fake real estate token, put the profits into some real estate. Oh goodness, yeah. The real stuff what there. But thank you again, Michael. Best of luck. We'll talk to you later on. And we actually I don't know, because on Friday it's a half day. We might not even have the aftermarket show. We'll keep everybody in tone for that. If we don't, we'll talk to you next week. Thanks again, Michael.
Well, I'll talk to you guys soon anyway.
All right, take care. Yeah, we'll have him back soon. I just realized I don't know what the plan will be.
I have no idea.
I don't know if we'll do guests. We're gonna have a show on Friday, even though we can't physically be here on Friday due to some renovations that's happening in the building. But we're still going to have a show. There is a plan in action, but we're gonna make it happen regardless. But shout out to everybody for the positive words there from Michael, a fantastic guest as always. But you know what we got to do? It's 4:30. Before we get into roll call, I just want to pump back over to Zoom because they sprinkled some buyback on it, and apparently that wasn't good enough. We're back down underneath support. Was able to bounce off 85, so 84 support, at least now holding. Zoom, they did beat. The guy was good. They had a buyback, but they're still pulling back here in the aftermarket. So not bad, not terrible, but not exactly blowing out of the water. But you know what time it is, everybody? No. Zena's at $8.
I saw that too.
Come on. Wow, it's at $8. Congratulations, anyone's in this bad boy. You've got to be kidding me.
Amazing.
Here's what happens when I don't believe $5 get out at 5:30. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. Congratulations to everybody in Zena, but it is roll call time, which means I got to give a big shout out and big thanks to everybody from our team, which is what I want you guys to do here. So, if you want to be in roll call, you got to be in the chat. You want to be in the chat, you got to be subscribers. So hit the subscribe and then promptly type in a thank you to either Fabian or Ramin. It's Fabian on the ones and twos. Maybe Adrian, who put out that fantastic video for our trades of the week. Maybe you want to give a big shout out to Brendo or Adera, dropping the news all day long. Maybe you want to give a shout out to the Midday boys, the Bash brothers, Joe and Sharif or Satea, who will be on later on this week. Or maybe you want to give a big shout out to my man Sean, who's going to be back, hopefully feeling a little bit better. Or Obi. Great job today for Obi. But certainly you better give a thanks to Bears versus Bulls, the best moderator in the business, or Michael Noss, our fantastic guest today. So drop that in the chat. Adera's going to read them off because it's roll call time.
Really quickly, I'm going to read off some more news, too. Yeah, shout out to everybody here. We have Neil, we have Fabian still here, Obi's still in there. Oh, boy, whoever you are, shout out to everybody here, and Bears versus Bulls, of course, always. But also, shout out to Darwin in the chat for making me notice this here. I just looked into this. So Kohl's does have some news. Kohl's announcing a new CEO. Ashley Buchanan's been appointed CEO and board member effective January 15th, at which point Tom Kingsbury, current CEO, is going to step down. So that is some CEO news for Kohl's ahead of their earnings tomorrow morning. But let's do some roll call because I'm way behind. There's so many people. Thank you guys all for being in the chat. We got Nick Dubb, we got ForexAU, Abdallah Kazem, Werloge, Jason G, V-Ray of Minneapolis, Charmine Khan, Raju Shankar, Christopher, we have Christmas, we have FX Options, Pepper Potts, I love that name. Charmine Khan again, Slugga, we got Bears vs. Bulls, West y'all, Wide Open Glow, we got Jersey Sean, Blue Arrow, LBM Photos, 9 to 5, we've got Dale Joyner, Robert Leo Roberts in the chat too, Zach Frack, Cash Money, I love that name, Redna, Royal Eye, Hurt Scrambler, Joseph Birch Music, Crypto FOMO, Ronaldo, easy peasy. Bright awakening, gotta stop with that because we're not gonna bright awakening. We're gonna be sleeping and then we'll be waking up tomorrow. My brain is
It's all
scrambled egg.
good.
Good times.
The best is Butter Biscuit Head saying, "Don't say my name." If you say "don't say my name,"
And
the
your name
first
is
thing I'm
Butter
going to do
Biscuit Head.
is say your name,
Yeah.
Butter Biscuit Head. Why not?
It's awesome.
Shout out to everybody in our community. We have the best community out there. It's a holiday shortened week, but if you thought it was going to be short on action, you'd be wrong because Zena, the Warrior stock, and a whole lot of other stuff was fantastic. And there's going to be more of that tomorrow. We're right back in early. You know what to do. Get a lot of rest. Enjoy it. Check out some early Black Friday sales and come right back tomorrow morning at 8:30. We're Trader TV Live, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.